Congratulations.
Oh, did they win?
Good evening and welcome to the School Building Committee, March 12th, 2013. I'd like to start the meeting with any public comment. I believe Mr. Lacatilia would like to speak.
Hi, Ellie. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come before the board. I just have. Pull up a chair. Sure. Sure. Thank you very much. If I could.
Squeeze right in there, Harry.
Pardon?
Squeeze right in there.
You guys don't mind this?
No problem. Go right ahead.
Just want to hand this out to everybody. If we could pass that around. I think there's adequate copies. There's more than enough. What's your board, 13? Okay.
10 voting
10, yeah.
members plus 5 or 6 non-voting.
As soon as you get it, I think you'll be able to see it, but I can start right now. I'd just like to make an announcement. This is essentially a press release, and what we're actually pointing out at this point is as part of the Open Space Committee, I'm on the Open Space Committee, the town of Georgetown had at one time an open space and recreation plan. That open space and recreation plan expired in November of last year. What the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission are doing is we're having it updated. You may recall, what was it, last annual town meeting, an amount of money was appropriated out of CPC funds voted by the town meeting voters to update the plan. This is the announcement of it. The reason I'm here tonight is that what happens at the field portion of Pembroke is very much going to affect the overall fields and open space use of the town.
Right.
And I'm here to beg of you that whatever subcommittee or overall committee does the actual final design and plan of the field aspect of Pembroke,
Yep.
that you be part of this planning process and this open space and recreation plan
You'll
process.
see that's on the agenda tonight.
Cut it out. I gave away my agenda.
We're going to talk about it tonight.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
And there's contacts there. Just not to stretch it out or anything, but a lot of people would say over and above the common sense of having an overall plan for your open space, your parks, and your recreation. Above the common sense of that, why would you want to do it? If that isn't enough to have that one
Yeah.
complete vision of the whole town for recreation, if that's not enough,
Yeah.
there are many, many grants that the town could use, the town has always availed itself of. Park grants, natural diversity grants, CPC, I think through the Concom, I think we've done like 3 of these grants. And I don't know, it's well over like $400,000 that we've received back from the state. You can't get the money unless you have the plan.
So not to skip on the agenda, but there's going to be a lot of space there for fields. The issue will be, if you walk over there, we obviously have a lot of different levels. And ideally, if you ever had the money one day to level off that area, you would have yourself a very nice sports complex and multiple fields. So Phil, and who's going to pay for that, Phil? We're talking about, as we bid this thing out, whether they'll keep Phil on site or if they'll truck Phil off and then bring Phil back, depending on what is more economic, to do the building and with the space. But, that's something that would be a factor in this, how we get the money to, you've got the upper field, the lower field, and then behind the Pembroke there. So you've got 3 different severe levels there.
Got your elevation.
If you ever could level that thing off, you would have yourself a lot of fields.
Well, I know, I don't want to have this discussion now because we're about to, but thank you.
Can I just
And
say
it's something
that
we're
plan,
very, very
your
concerned about
input
too. Yeah.
will hopefully resolve all of the issues there at the high school, everywhere in town.
Yes.
That kids kick a ball around.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any other public comment?
I seen you.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda will be to approve the minutes of February 19th, 2013. Would you like mine?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Would anyone care to make a motion? No, that's mine.
Look at that. Go ahead, you can.
You can look through it.
Approve
Every,
the minutes for February 19th, 2013.
Second.
any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have approval of invoices. We have an invoice from DRA that also included some of the consultants. It's all been included in the total of $217,027.20 and municipal's invoice for $20,855 for a total of $237,882.20. Anyone care to make a motion?
Back up, the email says 219,934, is that, oh, no, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong thing, sorry, take that back.
So we're budgeting $22,000 for Concom permitting.
I don't think it's 22,000.
20,000 change, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we used a couple thousand.
I got it wrong.
Yes, George, is that,
Well, I'm just wondering, does that include stormwater and erosion control
that's what it is for?
permitting?
Yes, yeah, for the Conservation Commission filing, right.
And that's what you estimate you're gonna spend?
Pat's got the total project budget, but I don't know that, this is their billings to date on the project. It's not necessarily the projected billings.
This is George, if you look at the report, the monthly report we passed out, it's listed under A and E reimbursable services, we have a line item for $201,500, for reimbursable outside, for these kind of instances, for these kind of
Right.
sites.
No, I just,
That's what budgeted.
okay, no, I just saw the heading, Conservation Commission permitting. Is the- is the
It says limit, 22,000.
heading. Right.
The only invoice I got was 217 from the computer. Now, you've added this since...
No, there were pages in there, Tilly.
It's just a
Behind the-
scope of work.
It was just, right, it was all included on that front page, but the other pages are listed on the front. I'd just like to point out that at this point, in terms of DRA's billing, we're up to approximately 43%. The schematic design phase, the design development phase, and the construction document phase is pretty much what we've been paying for so far.
Yeah, I questioned that.
I know you did, that's why I thought I would point it out for everybody.
Yeah, I think it should be noted because we're the design development, and I thought that's where we still are in the design development phase. 90% of it is already gone. And so when I heard at the last meeting, you said only 43% of the project is ready for review. I thought, well, where'd the 90% come from?
The 43%
it's of the
represents
whole project.
the entire project.
The whole design aspect, right
So
through
you kind of
CDs.
changed your way of doing it.
No,
and this-
no. The design development is complete. And as Kyle pointed out in the memo he sent through, showing his breakdown, if you look at I'm just looking at the front page, you've got feasibility, schematic, design development, construction documents. If you take the items, the 4 items, they total up $2.134 million. That's of the design to complete the documents, which represents 43%, which is what we've been saying. We're about 40 to 45% complete. So his billing is consistent with that. The big part of it is the balance that hasn't been complete, and that is obviously the construction document phase, which is what we're just getting into, which represents $1,140,000.
What is the document, Sal? Can you clear that up for me? What's
The
construction documents?
Construction
compared
documents
to
are when
design
the
development.
construction documents are when the plans and specifications are all completed for the project to be bid, which will be sometime in August. We're just entering that construction document phase, and as we said before, you'll see another estimate at 60%. You'll see another estimate at 90%. So we're at roughly 40 to 45. And now the next time you see another full update on the documents in the submittal packet will be at 60%, and we'll do another one at 90. And between now and next August, you'll be spending with DRA another $1,140,000. So when you add them all up, your total design cost for DRA, right through the time the project's ready for bid, will be $2,154,000, of which $1,140,000 is left at this point.
And when do you do the completed design with all the numbers on the sheets? When is that? Which phase?
In August, at the end of construction
After
documents.
this is all over, then we're going into the.
In August, you'll have a complete set of documents. Then you'll go into the bidding phases, and then you'll be into the construction phase. So at the end of August,
Okay.
the design will be 100% complete, ready to be distributed to the bidders.
According to our project schedule, if you look, it says August 5th, 100% document completion. So that's in the monthly report.
And that's when that'll be, that completion will be actually taken, reviewed, double-checked, and then it'll be put out for bidding.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like the way you had done it before, you know, where you itemized what percentage of the money is spent. And with this column, you didn't, you know, so if you could continue doing that, I think it'd be a
I'm
lot
referring
easier.
to Kyle's invoices. So did this change, Kyle? Did this format
No.
change? No. Okay.
Yeah.
You may be referring to maybe to our breakdown. This is DRA's. I'm referring to what DRA.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about too,
Yeah.
DRA style,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I am not familiar with their other invoices. I'm just referring to this one here.
Right, right.
I think this is the way you've done it all along. You give us the
Right.
percent complete as they're billing. So
Right.
basically, what they're saying is, for this billing, they billed us for 90% of the design development phase, which is pretty much what we're just completing right now. And then and we'll talk later in the meeting, municipal just went down and had the kickoff meeting for the construction document phase, which, as you see here, there's been nothing billed. And we're just starting that phase now.
Yeah.
As
The
of
DD
the-
phase is actually complete. The DD phase is 100%. We're actually into construction document phase.
Right.
Okay?
Well, this is dated, one more thing. I won't delay this any longer.
No, please
This
ask.
this is the figure that was dated for March.
March
For
4th.
February. What did February's look like? Looked like pretty much the same thing.
That would have been January's invoice.
No, we got February's, didn't we?
This is February's.
Yeah, this is February 1,
January.
February
This is for
28th.
February, so you're
And
talking.
February 28th was when the design development was submitted to MSBA as that phase being complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the only request I would have, is that you continue doing that the way you had been doing it, instead of, you know, that was a nice way of keeping track. So that if you come in and you say you're 45% done, I could look on this and say, yeah, they spent 45%.
Yeah, well,
that
again, if there's
possible?
something you can do to maybe show a total
The total,
percentage at the bottom.
sure.
or
How does
something.
the other board members feel about that? You never looked at it.
Oh, no, I look at them. We look at them.
You know,
All
we
done in
kinda-
phases.
we-
When they talk 43%, they're talking overall project.
Overall project.
Right.
That 90% is of that one department or that one
Right.
phase.
Right, right.
Well, they spent 100% of the feasibility at the beginning, then
Done.
another 100%.
The
Schematic's
schematic's
done.
done.
Third one is 90%, so we got 10% of that left, those monies,
Right,
and then continued forward with the other.
Right.
correct,
Everything below that.
right.
Yeah.
So you can
It's
see,
still
we,
to come.
that 1,000,001 for construction, 162,000 for bidding, 770 for, I mean, that's what we have left to spend.
Tilly, you're not alone, it's a little confusing.
Thanks, Rob. Well, you know what Reagan said? You know, check but verify.
That's right, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, are we ready to take a vote?
Wrong move.
All in favor of,
Is there a motion?
yes, and I think we've already seconded it.
Rob seconded it.
We're already in the, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm ready to vote. Everyone else? All in favor?
I just,
Rob, I thought Rob
Opposed?
seconded it.
all right, yeah.
Rob made the motion, I got you seconded.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Okay. Pass it around. Motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is There's correspondence, all of you got copies, we emailed you copies of correspondence that we received from the planning board. And due to the fact that we've been advised by town council a few times that it would not be prudent for us to file a formal site application with the planning board, we also then went to MSBA to request their opinion on this matter. And MSBA's council advised us to take the advice of Georgetown's council.
Why wouldn't it be prudent?
Because we have had an attorney express their opinion in several different ways, in several different matters, that it would not be the right thing for this board to do, which is to go against what the town council has told us.
What has the town council told us? I haven't heard anything.
Oh, they told us not to file a formal site application. I mean, the board has always planned on going before the planning board. We want their opinion. I mean, that's pretty much what we've always said. It's,
What would be the difference between an informal review and a formal site plan review? What would be presented that is being left out of a formal?
many of the things that that the planning board would do will overlap in what Carl will present and have the Conservation Commission do, for one thing. The other
And
is,
so just in doing that, we'd be paying twice to have the same thing done.
Well, according to the bylaws, the stormwater and erosion control bylaw, site plan review, the Concom does not hear stormwater and erosion control unless it's exempt from site plan review. So, in reality, the Concom has never heard stormwater because the formal process is always to do site plan review. So they have a lot of inexperience in that regard. So I'm
but they'll be
wondering why it would
sending
be
it out,
prudent.
they'll be sending it out to the same engineers that the planning board would use.
But the caveat to that is they would not do that if the planning board does it first. They will then take the technical review agent's review that the planning board prepares for stormwater management and calculations, and they will
Right.
take that and they will use it. They
Right,
won't
the
do it
Concom
twice.
wouldn't have to, they'd just be focusing on
Concom.
wetland impacts.
Well, the bottom line is, our town council told us that would not be the right step to take. And that's the path that we feel is the best for this committee, because they're the attorneys, they've advised the planning board of the same thing. And in our eyes, we still would like to make a presentation to them and get their impact for those reasons. I mean,
Can I
there's,
weigh in on this?
Sure.
Yeah, this is how I feel. I'm no expert in this area, but with all due respect to Tilly, she's their representative, been through this whole process. We've been doing this, what, a year and a half, 2 years now? And we've talked all along the way that we are gonna go to planning board. But at least I was under the impression that we were never gonna file a formal permit, or whatever you call it, site plan review. And that if there was any concerns, planning board would be weighing in through Tilly. She's reporting as I'm reporting back to the selectmen. So I don't see what the issue is, that why we should be filing a site plan, a physical site plan review.
Well,
Now,
because we've had past drainage issues.
right, we've
at
had
both-
past
at
drainage
both
issues
schools.
with projects that they have done site plan review on, so I don't think that,
But I don't-
that's a basis.
I don't know if this board has ever taken a vote whether it's going to planning board or not. I think there's been, for example, you've had that assumption, David, but I've always had a question mark in that we've never talked about it to a degree where the board has all weighed in and given their vote on it.
Well, when you say going to planning board, I was always under the impression that up to this point, they were pretty, they were all set with the project because, there was no negative feedback to say,
Right.
hey, look at this, hey, look at that.
Right.
But
you know,
they don't have to accept an informal review.
Understandably, and I would be disappointed if we went to planning board, and I know they're in the room, and I've told them this, I'd be really disappointed if we were gonna bring the project to them without filing for an actual formal site plan review, and that they wouldn't look at the project and weigh in on the project. There's still time there, while, you know, in between that time, at least from what I've heard, to when Concom would start all the technical review with the agents. I don't see what the issue is.
What is,
Well, I guess I get,
Again, let me finish my thought, Carl. You know, it's a long day already. The point is, you know, for me, I see it, and from what I've heard, it could be duplication of work. There could be additional conditions put on the project that, you know, most towns, and I'm gonna defer to the experts here and see, give me a percentage of how many projects of this that you guys do that actually go for physical, you know, formal site plan review. I'll ask you that later. But in my question, again, my feeling is that, at least I was under the impression we were always going to planning board. We were never leaving planning board out of the process.
Yeah.
And they were getting
Right.
feedback from Tilly along the way. And I'm not blaming anything on you, Tilly. And there's no negative feedback come back. All of a sudden, you know, whoa, you're not filing a site plan review. We don't want to see, again, they may not. I'll give them a chance to say yes or no. They don't want to see the project because we're not going to file a formal site plan review.
Well, the Concom meets monthly
Yep.
instead of bi-monthly. A lot of times they don't have quorum because a lot of people, I think they're a much maligned board, you know. And they, you know, sometimes don't have quorum. The process where we are now is they've just filed an ANRAD to delineate the wetland lines. And my understanding, this has been flagged for over a year. I mean, so, and they can't look at wetland until mid-April. So we're getting behind the process by putting a stormwater review in front of the Concom who don't have the experience. I mean, they're,
Well,
I think
yeah, but wait a minute, can
what George might be, George, something I'd like to piggyback on what George is saying, which is trying to, I think, help the project. It's Concom, the rule is that they cannot start to evaluate the location of the wetlands until April 15th. That's just the law. And then there's a period in the schedule that it takes that pushes them down a number of months before they're going to come back with an approval of that line that will get submitted. And by going through planning board, the stormwater management piece can be done and completed by the time they're completing their work with the wetland.
they still have to file a notice of intent.
Carl, have you
I wanna
factored
ask-
this
well,
time into it?
Can I get my question answered first, though? Was A, of all projects that you do, how many of them file a formal site plan review? And B, I think whether Concom is efficient or not is not a reason for us to go to planning board.
I'm not
That's
saying
just
they're
my-
inefficient, I'm just saying they're not used to, or probably
makes
have
the
never
planning
heard
board
a stormwater
Right.
review.
Okay, well, how do you normally handle those? Again, I'll go back to the experts. How do you normally handle those with your other projects?
Well, like we say, like your town council said, I think, there's no requirement for either, you know, a special permit or formal site plan review because of the Dover Amendment to the zoning. But in probably half of our projects, for, you might say, political reasons or for whatever other local reasons, the projects have gone through some kind of review process. Now, I couldn't tell you how many of them are formal because
Okay.
it's the town reviewing the town, and so they don't place the same kind of conditions or necessarily go through the same kind of process that they would for an outside project on these projects. So,
I'd like to, you know, and that was basically what Carl has said all along.
Right.
All right, but if you recall, at several of the meetings, you said the time is limited, and that was a big issue, getting this moving. Well, to get it moving, the planning board would move it faster. You would have all your numbers, your calculations, your consultant reviewing it,
we
and
wouldn't
then
have to
go
Concom?
to the Concom.
no, we still
You
have,
still
go
have to go to
Concom.
Conservation Commission.
With
By
that
law, you
data,
have to.
Wetlands
with the
data.
data that we're collecting, you need a lot of numbers with these storm drains. You need the complete site review. We have like a dozen pages in our process. It's very technical, and it is the only way you can come to some decision. The planning board already realizes that we cannot turn it down anyway, whichever, or make stringent regulations or conditions on it. That's against the law. That's what Dover Amendment is all about. However, the history in our town, the high school, the library,
Right.
the Pembroke,
Right.
where else? Mira's project, planning board not involved. We've had issues at each one
Correct.
of
The
these.
library, the planning board did do site plan review on the library.
No, they didn't.
Yes,
I was
they
on-
did.
was
I have
on
the minutes, Rob.
I was on the board.
Go look at the minutes, Rob. I have the
What I'm-
minutes.
He was the chairman of the board.
I have the minutes. I have a copy of the minutes.
What
I don't know what you
I
got.
did it in one night.
What I'm telling
Did it
you.
in one night.
Time out. It came in front of us.
couldn't be a site
Time out.
review in one
It
night.
Yeah.
Go look at the minutes.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
You
Let's,
voted on the
let's
wrong
not go to
minutes.
the library because
Let me
that's,
respond
doesn't
to
matter.
that.
The
No,
minutes, I'll forward
Bring the
them.
minutes, but let me
I'll
tell you
forward
what the
them.
minutes mean. Those minutes, that project came and was presented to the planning board in one night. It was not a formal review. You can't do a formal review in one night. And they said, basically, here it is, we hope you like it, thank you very much. That was the review. And consequently, you
That's
ended up
it.
with water going back in the front door, just as in every other public project that has come into the town. For some reason, the town seems to think that it's in their best interest to not use the expertise of the planning board and their technical review agents, when in fact, it would be in the town's best interest to use the planning board.
Carl,
I thought stormwater
Carl-
did fall under Conservation Commission.
It does.
No, not, under site plan review, stormwater falls under,
It does.
planning
There's a
board.
new bylaw that says that they are responsible. They've never had one.
Except for site plan review.
Yeah, except for site plan review.
Which this project is exempt
Yeah,
from.
Right. So then, that's why they have to go in front of the Concom.
if I'm not mistaken, the guarantee that we have with this project from you, from the people who are doing the work, is that this project cannot make any water issues worse.
For the
It may,
100-year flood
will
stage.
do the best, that you will do the best you can to make it better. But if something happens that makes things worse, you will be responsible for correcting that. Is that,
Well, that's the guidelines that our engineers are designing to, that it can be no worse than it is today. And in fact, everything they're doing, leads to their conclusion it's gonna be better than it is today.
Okay. Now
Even though
my-
there's more development on the site.
and my other question is, have you factored in the time that, as George is saying, that the Conservation Commission will take? I know you've already reached out to them to
Yeah,
set up an appointment.
I don't know that it's necessarily on the agenda, but their next meeting that we can make is April 25th.
Okay.
That's what we're targeting,
That's for
the
an
submission for the notice of intent.
And
No, you
No, that-
have
For the
filed,
notice of intent.
we filed a notice.
They've
of
already
intent?
filed it for the ANRAD,
Oh, they did?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So
They're
have
gonna
you?
file in early April, the
All right.
documents for that review. And I understand they hire an outside
Right.
reviewing, peer review engineer, I guess you call it.
All right. So you've already factored in the time that
Right.
all of it takes.
Right.
when
That
do you
has
think
been
it's gonna be
discussed.
done, Carl, from the Concom?
I'm not sure what they have in our schedule, as Pat mentioned, our project's going out to bid in August. We need, any conditions by July. So there are a couple months in there for them to get back with any.
They only meet once a month.
They only meet once a month.
We understand. So there's April for the hearing, May for the, hopefully they collect any issues, get feedback, and give us conditions then.
When I spoke with the conservation agent, he said this NROD should have been filed last year. To get it moving the way, the timeline that we want.
But we didn't have the authorization a year ago to file it.
To build a building.
Right. It's not, that's not something that, we could do.
Is that will you take questions from the audience?
No.
Was that a typical timeline for projects of this size that you've done in the past?
Which is typical timeline.
Well, we've got between now and April 25th, right? And then you're going to have 2 months for questioning to come back before August. Is that?
Sure.
It's 2,
Oh,
3
yeah,
months
that's typical, yes.
is typical.
Yeah. Because again, to make the submission, the drawings have to be advanced to a certain level of completeness before you can file. So you're necessarily close to the completion of the entire, package going out to bid. So it often happens this time, and as someone pointed out, it does relate to the calendar too. There are certain things they can't do in the winter that they have to wait for the springtime to verify certain conditions.
Does
So
that schedule allow for if they do not have a quorum, one of those meetings?
I couldn't say, Rob, I don't know.
No, is there enough fluff in the schedule that if they don't have a quorum and you miss that monthly meeting, that you can still meet your deadline?
I can't say, for sure. I mean, again, one would hope this is a public project and they're a public body, that if, you know, they can't get a quorum, they schedule a special
We should be able to
meeting.
put enough,
But the public hearing requires notice to
Exactly,
abutters.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, that's
But I-
not easily rescheduled, but the
But
follow-up
have-
meeting.
So what I'm hearing by you not answering it is that you don't have fluff in the schedule to account for a meeting that doesn't happen, that you've. it's
No, I
right
say I
to-
don't know. Again, it's our engineers who
I understand.
put that work plan together, so I don't know how much time they've allowed there. But as we said, we're not going out to bid till August. We've issued order of conditions, or attached order of conditions to our plans and specs in the addenda period on some projects, which would be in August and into September. So it's not as though we are putting them under the gun where we say, you gotta answer us, you know, the next day or something. We're allowing several months there.
I
I would
understand.
hope
I
that they
guess
meet
I'd
once a
like, I
month.
guess I'd like the, I just would like the record to show that I'm concerned that that the Concom is not gonna be able to meet the schedule. I just would like that on the record.
I
Well,
mean,
that's
we all,
fine.
we're probably all concerned about that.
Good.
But there's ways for us to communicate with them to say, you know, book a meeting, you know, you can't get
We need-
it,
we
just
need to
because
do
it's
that.
once a
We
month,
need to do
doesn't
that.
mean, that's not statute that says they meet once a month. They can meet once a week if they want.
It's just a, we need
Yeah, I
to
understand, that's a
address it.
concern, I
We need
don't
to address
disagree
it.
with you, Rob, but, you know, again, for me, I would ask, if we do file a formal site plan review, A, are there gonna be no additional delays,
No,
guaranteed?
we're not filing one.
I'm just, again, I'm just asking the question. And we have the representative from, I'm gonna ask the representative from, let me, Rob, please let me finish.
We have limits on that. 60 days after the close of that, there's a decision
Right.
within the 60
If
days.
there's no decision,
We have
what happens?
timelines.
Right. What happens if there's no decision? Is it automatic, it
Well,
goes?
to begin with, let me explain more about a site review process. I'll try to be as quickly as possible.
Well, this needs to be
To
vetted.
hold
I mean,
this up.
There's no doubt about it.
Okay, a site review is usually, let me put it this way, as simple as I can. It's usually approved regardless. What we do is we get all the calculations, we look, the consultant advises us in detail. He gives us a complete description of everything.
Right.
We go through that.
Right.
That would take at least 2 meetings there to go through it all, to go through. If there's no changes, wonderful. Then it's a lot quicker. But the thing is that through the conditions that we put on it, if we do put on any,
Yep.
that is what is appealable. We automatically approve all our site reviews, and when we put on conditions. If the applicant does not like conditions, then they can appeal it.
Right.
That's how site review, it's a little different. And when you get back to the BMP, when you talk about storm drains, the way that works out is, yes, they have to be very tight on their calculations, and the review has to have another person look at it. And be careful about it. But what happens is, the downfall is you're abutters. It could be 2 years down the line and you'd be slapped with a suit. I got water in my basement, or whatever it may be. And if they could go through the court system, it's gonna delay everything.
So
I
can I
mean,
get
the
back
whole
to my
project
question,
can be
though? My
stopped.
question is, if we were to file a formal site plan review, is there listen, after 60 days, we have an answer after 60 days, or after 30 days, can it go 90, can it go 120, can it go,
Only
Is there a statute
if
that says-
paperwork is not complete.
okay.
Only for that reason.
So there would be, you're guaranteeing there'll be no delays to the project, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, any additional cost by doing this versus by bypassing formal site review and going to Concom?
Madam
Is there
Chair,
additional costs?
The cost would be a consultant. You'd have to
Yes,
pay
there is
for that.
additional cost. I mean,
There is.
And the
estimate?
consultant is
I believe
what,
it's about $10,000.
Okay.
the Concom is also going to use our consultants. So we would have his numbers to pass right to them,
Right, okay,
which would make that process a lot quicker and smoother.
right.
We could start right away. Concom is waiting for their NROD and their other NOI,
Right.
and then they're going for it. So that in itself, I would say, 2 or 3 months just to do notice of intent.
Right. But I also just want to state, we've got, Carl has his own set of engineers. We've also got the MSBA, we've got a couple checks in work. We are looking to go before the planning board. We want feedback from the planning board, on everything. Just, but we're required by law to go to the Conservation Commission. We have to.
Yeah.
So that money is built into the budget. We're already started down that road.
Well, you're gonna take delays, that's all I can say. You'll be lucky if they make September.
Well, we'll have to do,
Well, I
I mean,
think-
we'd have to deal with that, that's all.
Right,
I mean, there's
I
ways
mean,
to.
if-
Can we take some public comment, please, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I'd really like to also.
I don't know that if you are 20 seconds brief.
I think I can be brief.
Okay.
I think I can save you a lot of time. And I think what I want to express from the planning board is that it will be a very, very quick process. It'll be as expeditious as it can be. Can I give you a number? No, I can't, because the one thing that the planning board is going to do is to take the review that you'll probably be doing, by my time estimates, sometime in June with the Concom. You'll be handing all of your information in. My belief is that by starting with a formal site plan review, now as ASAP, what will happen is that stormwater review will be done by the town engineer. You'll have that, whether it takes a month or 4 months, I don't know. That's up to the town engineer. But you're going to incur that delay, whether you do it now immediately with site plan review through the planning board, or whether you do this in June or July or August to begin that process and that review.
Thank you.
It's, as far as the money aspect is concerned, you're gonna pay for it one way or the other.
Yep.
What will happen is you'll have that report back in your hand when you're ready to walk into Concom and hand that report in. And that eliminates that whole delay there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The bottom line is, we have been told by the town attorney not to file an official site application. It's as simple as that. We have been told by the attorney 3 times. We have been told by MSBA's attorney to do what our town council said.
Do you have correspondence from the town
Yes,
attorney?
but Mike, since it did not come directly to us, we cannot be the one to hand it out. You may get it through Mike.
Some also went to the planning board.
Do we have that?
MSBA, I'd let us see that one.
Mike, would you
have
like
that,
to
please?
say anything?
What town council has been telling us is, and the planning board, is that the education project is exempt from site plan review. That's what they've been saying consistently.
Well-
You don't need to go to
But-
site plan.
Are they saying what I think I heard? Are they telling us not to go? Time out. Are they telling us not to
No.
go?
No,
No, they didn't
Well,
say
that's
that.
very different
Not to
then.
go, they recommend we don't go because
I
we don't
They've
have to.
advised that we don't.
Yeah. So, because we don't have to. Have they
Yes.
given a list of reasons why we shouldn't go?
Just that we're not required,
That's the only reason?
yes.
Okay.
So it's like,
the-
you're voting for, you're voting for something that isn't there.
Well, but, I mean, laws have been put into place for a reason. I mean, I haven't gone back, I've seen a lot of different laws and cases referenced in some of these opinions that we've seen, but they've been put in place for a reason. We have a project manager, we have DRA with their own engineers, we're going through the conservation for the water. The town attorneys, the MSBA has given us guidance to follow what our town attorneys have told us as well. So,
What is the concern with why you don't, what's the resistance to going to the planning board?
Delays in addition, delays, number one.
Delays, okay.
Additional cost and unrealistic conditions. Not saying they're gonna do that, but that's what this
the
is all
issue is,
about.
anything that comes back from the site plan review, if we go for formal, we have to follow.
And that's what all cities, and that's why this whole argument came out.
Right.
Well,
All these other
that's why there's
problems.
not additional cost, because the planning board would do the site plan and stormwater management. The Concom wouldn't have to do that, so the costs would
Well,
shift
again,
from.
but
the
additional conditions could bring additional costs, that's, okay, not specifically that.
And that-
That's
that
why this
was
whole,
one of
that's the
the,
whole
uh,
argument in this whole,
that
I'm not
was-
saying you're gonna do it, but that's the
That was
danger.
the
It's
main,
illegal to do it. We cannot.
Wait a minute,
impose
Mike has the floor.
unreasonable
I
conditions.
don't want any more public comment. Go ahead, Mike.
the main reason they said don't go, well, that we shouldn't, we don't have to go, and if we did go, and do it officially, then we, as David said, we would be subject to their conditions.
Reasonable.
To con-
Quoted right, Michael.
Reasonable.
we would be
Quoted right,
subject
Michael.
to their
Reasonable
conditions.
conditions.
Right, but Chris, reasonable conditions in your description and reasonable you can fight that, you're an attorney, you can fight
No,
that for
it's a-
30 years.
No,
The
it's the
word
Dover
reasonable.
case that it came out.
Identify
All
specifically
right.
what you can and
But
can't
they're on
do.
The
the same,
Dover
planning
judge
board's on the same team as
said
us.
that.
We're gonna-
Didn't
if
say
we're
they
gonna-
weren't.
If we're gonna cite the law, Mr. Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, let's cite all of it.
Go ahead.
The law also states that the law is unsettled as to whether or not it's a definite thing, that site plan is exempt. The word unsettled, town council failed to point that out. But as I believe Mrs. Smith just said, there's a number of cases, I'll be happy to provide you with those number of cases that say it's unsettled. The planning board is here to assist and to help the town. We want to make sure that that project is done correctly the first time.
Then there's no problem.
Then
So
there's
I
no
totally
issue.
agree with you just,
Yep.
what you just
There's
said.
no
Chris.
issue.
Exactly
I
right.
totally
Right.
agree. My only thing is we've all been on different boards. Would any of us ignore town council on any of the boards we've sat on? If
Well,
town council came to us and said,
Let me
"Don't
give
do
you an
something,"
example
have you
of
read it?
ignoring.
We
No,
ignore it.
no, excuse me.
Let the chairperson control the meeting.
No, please. Has to be between this committee. The committee has been advised 3 times by 2 different lawyers not to file an official site plan.
May we see that,
We
Madam
would
Chair?
like, you may get it from Mike.
Michael,
We
would
would
you please,
like
please?
to go before the planning board. We do want their help. We do want their input. We do have to go before Concom. We have to by law. Those are the steps that we need to take for this committee.
So I get another clarifying question. So the difference would be a different set, the engineers would gather all the information, right?
Yes.
Versus the planning board's set of engineers that would gather the information. We'd have a different set of engineers, they might be the same, but controlled by a different party, correct? And then, but we're gonna get all the same data, right? No matter what group of engineers does
Only
it.
faster with the planning board.
Be faster with
But
the
we don't
planning
know
board,
that.
perhaps. Okay?
They meet twice a month.
We do.
So,
Well, the point.
is it semantics or maybe that's the wrong word, but can't you take that set of data and look at that set of data?
We're inviting you to present it to us.
So
The only
So-
venue under which we
It-
can
it's just
do
a matter of
it
who-
is site plan
who
review.
controls the engineers that go collect that data?
The schedule is such that Conservation Commission is not going to have the stormwater calculation review done by their technical review agent, which probably is the exact same technical review agent that the planning board uses. They won't have it done until down the road, so then if the idea is to have the planning board then be down the food chain to take theirs, the schedule gets pushed out even that much further.
Ellie?
Yes, Carl.
We're submitting our data somewhere around, our plans, including the stormwater calculation, somewhere around April 10th.
Okay.
I don't know the process per se by your conservation agent, but I believe the conservation agent could take that data and send it to the reviewing engineer, starting at that time.
Okay.
The meeting may be until the public hearing, April 25th. I don't
There's no reason why
understand
they can't be
the
working on
lag
it.
time there.
Okay,
Again, this is a public project with a public review,
right.
So
everything
can I
that
just-
we've heard to date, that
can I
everyone's
get
gonna
back
be
to
cooperative.
Can I get back to the point that what we never said, we weren't going to planning board.
I know, but you can't go in, okay?
Why can't you?
You can't go in with this here. That's not sufficient.
Why?
We need those numbers. We need
you
a
can get
consultant
those.
to look
You
at
can
it.
You can render your
We'll have
opinion
those
on
on
them.
April
Yes.
10th.
Why can't you render your
Well-
opinion on them without binding?
Well, we would
without
have
other binding
to,
conditions?
we would have to hire the consultant. And if you're willing to go that route, I want to make a motion.
I gotta ask a question, though. We're spending millions of dollars on consultants. Millions of
I'm
dollars.
gonna make a motion and then you can discuss more, okay?
No, I'm not entertaining an
You
emotion.
can't stop a
You
motion.
can't stop it.
Okay.
To have DRA for site plan approval with the planning board.
How do you spell
Have a second.
Second.
Now discussion.
Okay.
That's how it's done. Okay?
You
The
know,
delays, I sympathize with you. Delays cost money.
Right.
And they not only cost money now, but they'll cost money down the line. I mean, this project is phenomenal, the money that we're putting out here, and we're putting it out for taxpayers. And the thing is that we want it right. Our experience in this town has not been excellent. We're looking for an excellent project.
And there's no reason why we can't bring it to planning board. and
Because of the
present it.
delays. The delays,
Without-
and you're going to a board that has experience, number one.
And
We
gonna
know
go to
what we're
that-
doing.
And we would go to that board.
Right.
We deal with roads. This is their first application for a stormwater permit. Their first. They have a new person now, I understand, on there that will have to learn the process. They've got all the others who sometimes make a quorum. You already got an agent that says it's going to take time and that the NROD should have been filed last year to meet your deadline of.
I'd like to hear
They
that from
couldn't.
him.
That would be
They
impossible,
couldn't-
though.
They couldn't do it.
So they could have done it last year. Well, anyway, that's
you couldn't
that's
have.
the way it was explained to me that this is going to take time. Time is money. Are you willing to take the risk of not having an experienced board look at it,
still
and
look
for
at it, Tilly.
inexperienced people to look at it?
They could still look at it. They could still render an opinion. My problem is the other reasonable, and that can come down to a major fight. Reasonable conditions. And I've expressed
A major
it to
fight
Chris.
with who? What's if you
What are the
certainly you'll agree with reasonable. Everybody agrees with
What
reasonable.
is reasonable in comparison to the planning board versus the project manager versus the committee versus the school bill?
Let me put it to you this. I've been on the board for 6 years, and I'm sure the calculation of the years put in, we have not had an appeal on a site review. There is not anything in history that says there's been an appeal on it. So it's been reasonable.
So,
It's in our bylaws to be reasonable.
Tilly, all of you guys are expert. I am not an expert on this at all. The
I
only thing
understand.
that I am struggling with is why you still couldn't do that review, and then why we as a board pay town council and then ignore town council if it's accurate in what we heard about town council.
All
Why
right, I'll
couldn't
tell
you
you.
still? I know there's some time, but these
Okay.
guys are going to have to deal with any delays,
Let
right?
me explain your town council question. I have talked to the state Community Housing and Development Committee board. I have talked to Mrs. Elaine Wojcicki, I think is how you pronounce her name. She is the planner for the state. She said there is absolutely nothing in our state laws that says the town cannot have a site review process. Nothing. It has never been tested in court. That's another issue.
Yeah.
She too said, you probably have to listen to town council at this issue because they're the ones that would defend you.
Right.
That
That's
would
the
be,
point.
they will defend you no matter what. If you do it wrong or right, they're gonna be there. But to my mind, there's still home rule. We do our own amendments, that's home rule. We go to town meeting, the people decide what our site review process is. And in there, it has municipal spelled out. The school is municipal. We do have that authority for home rule, and it would be a very good argument. I think our Copeland page is way too conservative. We've already caught them in planning board issues that they were wrong, absolutely wrong, and we made money on it because we went one way and they went another way.
Let me ask you something, Dave.
So,
Why do members applying to be on the Conservation Commission, I think they're the only board that has to come in front of the selectmen to be questioned for their motives of getting on the board. Do you think they're making unreasonable decisions on the Conservation Commission?
I'm not here to pass judgment on the Conservation Commission.
Well,
In the
you're saying the
past-
planning board
I'm not
could come up
passing
with
judgment.
unreasonable
I'm-
conditions.
No, I
and
didn't say
yet
they
you-
would, George.
It's a
No
possibility.
words in my mouth. I didn't say they would. But that possibility exists, and I don't like that language. To get back to the conservation issue, there's other people come in front of us for appointments that we've talked to.
I can't recall.
The problem.
Zoning
again,
board members.
Historically, the Conservation Commission is where the biggest legal fees come from. And that's generally why we question people.
So you
You know,
think
to
they,
see kind of where they stand on.
so you think they've made
If they're
unreasonable
for the co-
decisions then?
No, I didn't say that. I don't know. I couldn't even cite one decision that they've made in the past since I've been in town that I wouldn't even know about. All I know is when I see the legal bills, you know, in the past, it's gotten a lot better.
They're
But
protecting our natural
I
resources.
understand. Listen. I would, you know, I know how to turn my water on and off. That's about all I know. So, you know, I'm a accounting business, you know, numbers guy. Okay, I'm not a water guy.
Anybody
I'd
want any
like to-
candy?
I'd like to,
Might make us all feel a little better.
I'd like to,
Chocolate's right here.
I'd like to just clarify, because I think this is really important, and this goes to your question, Eric, of, you know, why go against town council?
Yeah, just one other piece of that, because we can still do what, in good faith, what everyone in the
Right.
town wants to do anyways.
Right.
Right.
So, with regards to the town council part, town council, and I think in their opinion, which I have nothing to look at, and I'm being told what this opinion is. They're very clear from what Mike is saying, that they're recommending not to go, and the reason they give is because it's not required by law. That's the only reason they give. Is that correct, Mike?
No, it's because if we submit to it officially, we fill out an application, then we are bound by any conditions that are placed on the site plan.
So they said that in their opinion?
No, I didn't read that. You must have something else
It
that
is-
we didn't get.
Oh, do you have a copy of that?
We
Because I'd
got
love to see
We
it.
all got a copy, I believe.
Anybody has it, why don't you have it?
Because
Well, I
it was
do,
sent
but I
to the
didn't-
planning board, it was not sent to us.
Nothing has been sent to Ellie and I, it's been sent to the planning board and to the town administrator.
Nothing's been
I'm
sent to you. How do you know what it
confused.
says? Madam
How do
Chair,
you know what it
said nothing's
says?
been sent to you?
It has not been
It was
directed
not-
at.
it was not
been
directed
addressed
to us.
So it's not, because it hasn't been addressed to us and sent to us, we
We
did not
can't
forward it to
distribute
the
it.
committee. If you wanna
But you're
distribute,
citing it, you're not going to distribute it to your board, but you're telling them the town council said
No,
not
excuse
to
me.
go.
We told them that the town
What you just said. was
Manager
town
has
said
counsel.
Not to go. What you just
Yes.
said, town council said not to go. If you find that in that letter, then I'm illiterate, and I have a doctorate.
Wasn't.
I believe it
Mike?
says that the town is exempt.
Yes,
It is
that's what it
not
says.
required. Doesn't say the town is not to go.
No, it said they're exempt, that's correct.
That's not what you said, Madam Chair.
I'm
And might I
sorry.
suggest that
They advised
you let your
They
members read
advised
the
us not
decision.
to. That has to be the decision of the town manager, because he has
We don't
the
have a town manager.
We have a town
town
administrator.
administrator, I'm sorry, Mike. It has to be,
No, David, not gonna stop.
It's not the decision of the town administrator.
to distribute the attorney's
To-
letter.
All right, it's the decision of all of us. I got a motion on the floor. Are we
I
ready?
do.
Forget our conversation?
I told you I was gonna do my research, and I did.
You wanna move the
I
question?
know where I'm at. I know exactly where
No.
I'm at.
We had a
What happens
motion
in
and a
other
second.
towns?
We
I
gotta,
know.
you
Well,
gotta
that was
move
the
the vote.
question.
It's a mixture.
50/50, you're saying.
50%.
Yeah, some do, some don't, some do informal, you know, it's a mixture, depending on the community.
And sort of to that, I wanna reiterate what Tilly said. Whether it's the library, whether it was the 40B project, whether it was the high school, you just go down the list of all of the town-related public projects that are exempt from town planning board review.
Did they present to the planning board?
Big difference.
Formal or informal?
Big difference. The way the library went, they presented it in one day.
I heard it one day.
With no correspondence from us
Right.
saying, we want this, we want that, it was, here it is.
No. How about,
And that is.
so that was a bad example.
And that, in the 40B, the biggest housing project we have, the 40B never went to the planning board, one. Not that it-
They are exempt.
They are exempt for that, however, some towns do. That's a different job. But I remember sitting on the zoning board of appeals the day they approved that. The architect literally was taking a pen on the drawings to be approved, and he was saying, so you want this? He'd go like this on the pen, on the drawing. You want this? And that was the approval process. And what
But-
I'm saying is, every project in the town that has not gone through an official approval process with the planning board has come back to bite the town. Every single one.
We have a planning board member on this committee. We have other people on this committee who are aware of all of these issues. That's our job, along with the architect, to make sure that these things are being looked at. I mean, that's why the planning board is saying they will look at it. All we're saying is, the town council advised us not to do this. It doesn't make sense to go against what town council is advising this board. We are going to Concom, because we have to. We're gonna get that information. We're gonna make sure we try and expedite it to the best of our ability and get it to, the planning board. So what won't happen?
The idea to not go in front of the planning board because you don't want to be held accountable to any conditions they may put on it, which is exactly why you want to go to the planning board to get their comments and concerns, is, I find personally, disingenuous. The idea that we want their feedback, but we don't want it to be conditional, that we have to do it. That one is a hard one for me to pull together. Absolutely a hard one to pull together. I don't believe we want their feedback, and I don't see anything that this board is doing that says we do want the planning board's feedback in a very real way. It's just absolutely true.
So, if we could ask, we have the chairman here of the planning board, so could I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
You may.
First question, yes or no answer.
Maybe.
No, otherwise I'm not gonna even ask him.
You gotta get.
Yes or no? Yes or no, Mr. Lackington, yeah.
This isn't a courtroom, David. We're trying to get away from the legal mumbo
Well,
jumbo.
listen, 2 minutes ago it was a courtroom, it turned into that, 2 minutes ago. This is Chris is smiling, he knows where I'm at.
I tried to give
So
you
the first question is, if we come to you, if we do not vote to go formal site plan review, are you gonna refuse us the opportunity to come in front of the planning board
No, it's not a refusal of the opportunity to come before the planning board.
and solicit feedback?
And, well, the point is you won't get any feedback. Something you said earlier tonight, you were under the impression that the library had site plan review.
Look at the
No, no.
minutes, Harry, it's in the
No,
minutes.
this was a yes/no question. I don't wanna talk
I
about the
don't know what
library.
facts are, But the informal review that you're referring to, that was stated in some set of minutes that I haven't read,
I have, you know.
gave you, the selectmen of the town, the impression that the planning board reviewed it.
So
They didn't.
if we took all the data from these engineers and gave it to you guys, would you do your normal due diligence and go over that data?
Sure, it's called site plan review.
Yeah.
And that's
The
exactly
only
what-
That's
venue
Exactly what
that's
it's
in which we
So
can
then why does it have to
submit
be
The only
formal?
difference, Harry, that I'm still caught up in is it's whether one set of engineers hands it to you or another set of engineers hands it to you.
No, you're in the process.
That'd be too late in the
Your
process.
engineers.
You know, when you all said and done, this planning board is a volunteer board.
So what we all
We,
do.
Right, we all are.
All right, we're
I
not
get paid?
getting the big bucks. These guys are, and they have no problem with coming to us. So, let's get common sense here, fellas. I mean,
Well,
yes, you all agree there's been problems with 4 developments in town that have cost us. We almost lost lives with one of them. We're talking about children in a school.
But we do
We're
have
talking
other
about
engineers,
a
Tilly.
listen, we're also talking about a very critical site. From day one, I've been trying to express that. This is a sensitive site. It is any pamphlet that I have ever been to in any class for storm drains. Their first thing they say is, do not pick a critical site to build on. It is not only risky, it's expensive. Well, we did it. So we need the best. Is there going to be a third review? Why not? we've got a risk here. We've got millions of dollars of not our own money, everybody's money in town. This is not a joke. We're busy on the planning board. We could be doing other things right now. We could be doing many things, in fact.
Can I?
And this is, you know, you gotta keep in mind, if you wanna listen to people that are not living in town, go for it. But everything was fine until you got the lawyer involved. Think about
We
that.
didn't get it
No.
involved.
The other thing is that I've been really concerned about, and nobody has mentioned this, is that our chairman made this decision. It should have been ours. It should have been ours. Correspondence, we cleared up way back when. Correspondence had to be in the process. We need an explanation about when we get things coming in, it should be read to all of us. If there's any action involved, we should get it first. Not have other people deciding what they want to do. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Now, you have a town administrator who started the ball, I guess, rolling, because he's taken the blame for it. I had my doubts at first. But he's taken the blame for seeking out town council.
No, I'm not taking any blame. That's my job. There was a discrepancy between what you were saying as a planning board rep and what our
Yeah.
consultants were saying.
Yeah.
You were saying from day one that we had to go to site plan review and probably or possibly special permit.
Yeah.
They consistently from day one have said, no, we don't have to do site plan review and
Right.
definitely no permit.
It had nothing to do with the
So,
attorneys.
all
It was
I
always the
said
planning.
To legal counsel, who's right?
Well, that thing
And-
is
and
that
I
Carl,
said-
as far as I'm concerned, Carl said it's up to the board. It's up to the board to come or not. From day one, he never said we didn't have to go.
Well, why don't you guys vote? No, he said.
I still-
Yes, he did say.
I don't know how
we
I,
don't have
I
to.
lost the floor. I had the
Yeah,
floor.
he said
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
have to
Go ahead,
He
Dave.
said we don't have to.
I got the floor at one point
ahead,
and I
Dave.
lost it.
He said
So-
it's either whatever.
I'm not, to say, I'm for
Yeah.
blaming.
There's
I'm
no
to
blame.
No.
I'm glad I did it.
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up because I just kind of thought, geez, because the way it was all done, it was like sneaky. You know, it was, we opened the planning board meeting and then, geez, we got a letter from town council from Mike.
Wasn't
Had said,
sneaky.
It was
I
like-
got the answer and gave it to you right away. If I didn't, if I wanted to be sneaky, I wouldn't have given it to you. And I would have given it to them.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead. Ask your question, please, so we
I'm
can
still
move
back on
on.
my questions to
Go
Harry.
ahead.
Not that I'm cross-examining you.
I was wondering when we were gonna get back.
So,
you know, let's
so, so if we don't, my question was, if we don't file a formal site, guys, can I finish this?
Sure.
If we don't file formal site plan review, you're still gonna look at the project. Okay, I'm getting no, you're not gonna even, you're not even gonna allow us to come in and show you.
me or?
No, they got a
He's
yes.
answering for you.
No, there was a yes. to
Was
that
there a
question.
yes? We're gonna get feedback.
I didn't hear the whole question.
If we bring the project to you without formal site plan review, are you gonna, A, accept us in and look at the project and render any type of opinion or suggestions to the project?
David, may I say, there is no venue under which we can do that.
Why? Why? Why, Harry?
Sorry?
Why? Why not? Why not? Why can't you?
We're a planning board.
Yeah,
There are laws we have to follow.
yeah,
We do subdivisions,
yeah,
we do site plan approvals,
right,
we do A&Rs,
right,
we do special permit OSRD.
right. I know what you do.
We don't do anything else.
Okay.
That's it. That's the only thing we are allowed to do under state law.
Okay. So is that a yes or a no?
Pardon me?
Is it a yes or a no? That's it.
There's no venue under which you can
Okay,
bring
so
it
that's
to
a
us
no.
other than.
Secondly
site
is
plan
if
review.
we do vote
But
to
he's
do
saying he's
formal
not, are you
site.
saying you're not allowed to?
No, it's just that there is no venue under which we could take those stormwater calcs, and I really can't express this enough. Those stormwater calculations, those review, can be so much more accelerated. You'll have your review done.
I'm past that. My next question is.
That's the venue
All right,
we need
okay.
to do it through.
All right, so my next question is, if we do it, right, are you gonna guarantee that a time frame in which we will have a clean opinion or whatever, a approval back from you guys, is it 60 days? Is it 90 days? Is it 10 days? Is it 12 days? How long is it?
My understanding is it's 60 days with your approval to extend. If
Are you asking us if we're predisposed to automatically give the approval? Is the way you're wording it is.
No, I'm a novice at this.
Bear in mind.
I don't, my concern is I don't wanna see delays.
Right.
My next question is,
Bear in
if
mind,
we,
Dave, we send that out to the
right, so
town.
you're at the mercy of the.
So, you know, I mean, so, what happens in every single case, whether you're gonna do it with Concom or with planning board,
Right,
is that review goes out. And as professional and as dedicated as any human engineer or team of engineers is, there
You gotta-
are always mistakes
Let's go.
found.
alright,
Always.
so timeframe
So you
is
go back and
roughly,
forth, back and forth, and the corrections are made. And
60
that's
days?
why, that's when you don't have water flooding in the door.
so I'm
60
saying, but
days
60
from the
days?
close of the hearing.
Harry, would you be willing to hold extra hearings?
Oh, I've never, in 6 years, there was only one time that the planning board refused to hold an additional meeting. And that
Carl.
was because it was gonna be the day before Christmas.
Alright, am I-
And you know,
We're
keep in
very
mind,
well.
Well, I wanna-
Dave,
I'm-
this could
let
save
me-
you money.
I-
If our
Time.
consultant comes up with
That's my next
another
question.
way
That's my-
of doing thumbs,
Can I ask him, Tilly?
Yeah.
No cost
We've been
benefit.
together for a long
You'll pay
time.
it to us, or you'll pay it to Concom. There is zero
You
cost
sure?
benefit. There is a
Are we
time
gonna,
benefit.
are we gonna incur a double cost?
Negative.
Okay,
No, it's
And?
a flat line.
and,
Wait a minute. We have to pay the,
so we're gonna deduct this out of the Concom budget, that $22,000.
wait a minute, I don't know that we can, we
Can't
can't,
deduct it.
we
They
can't.
still have to do
We
everything.
legally
to-
have to
within the
hire
SBA contract.
Concom.
Right,
What you'll
So
have
we're
to
gonna
do
pay
is
twice.
file
No.
to
Yes.
Concom.
You don't have to
You'll
pay
be
for
submitting the
stormwater.
data.
No, no, they're gonna have to pay for their
But
engineers to
will
do
already
it.
have been
you know?
pre-reviewed.
well, they're supposed to be ready with it. We're
No,
not
no, no,
supposed
I'm
to
not,
pay anything extra.
my
No, just say
question
they're
has
gonna have
not
to
been
do it.
answered.
Yeah.
Will there be additional cost by us filing a permit, a site plan, a formal site
No,
plan
we have to
review?
waive the fees.
Yes, I got yes from the experts.
Well, it depends if
Explain.
you're using not just the fees, but are you hiring a consultant? Are you
Yes,
hiring
the
a
same
consultant?
consultant that would be hired under Concom.
Regardless if it's COMCON or planning, you're hiring a
A
consultant.
consultant.
How do you
Right,
figure
you're
that,
gonna-
how do you
your-
figure that
The
stuff
town
out?
is gonna pay for that
Same
consultant
consultant
This
in
engineer's
one
already
board or
doing it.
another.
So will we save the money with
The same
Concom?
consultant that we use
That's right.
is also used by Concom.
So they'll rely on
They
your
will accept,
results?
Concom will accept his calculations
That's correct.
given to the planning board.
So we'll save the
That
money
way
there.
that the law
So
is
you
Yeah,
only
only
pay
paid
it once.
if you'd have to pay the engineers on Concom, then you wouldn't be paying any extra. Yeah, yeah.
We're already paying that, and that gentleman's consultants over there to do it.
Oh gee, you mean you have another set of eyes look at it?
I'm just saying.
No, I
that's
wanna
why
get to the
he's
facts,
out.
whether you
That
agree with it or
guy's
not.
You're gonna do that with Concom or with the planning board. You're not getting around that.
Alright, so
We're gonna
there's
do,
no-
he's gonna do his, and then, again,
And it's gonna get
Concom
reviewed.
or
Every
whoever plan,
project that
will be
comes into this
overviewing
town
what
is
they're
done
doing.
that way.
So Concom will rely on,
Concom will.
The
most
money that we
likely
use for
defer.
that
They're
consultant.
allowed
Like
to.
they always do.
okay, well, I'm just asking, I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, that's the way
I
the
don't-
law's
I'm not,
written.
you know.
They can.
I'm
delegate
not a
that
planning
stuff.
board junkie, you know, I don't watch. your
Everybody's
meetings
getting a
all-
lesson, I guess.
You want a zoning wonk?
Alright, last question is, the reasonable, explain to me what else can be put on for restrictions on the project as a result of us filing for the, formal site plan review?
Nothing unreasonable, and Dover Amendment covers all of that.
Okay,
Very good.
so give me
Give
some,
me an example of
give me
something
some, give me
crazy
a
you
comfort
worry
level.
about.
I have a
Let me know what you're
question.
worried about, and I'll tell you.
Is the Dover, if we filed a formal site application, does that overrule the Dover?
Has
Do you
nothing
know?
to do with it.
Former
Is
site
it,
has to-
what he
has to-
just said was that the Dover regulates.
I can't answer that.
No, there's
You're-
nothing
you're-
to do with it.
you're
But that's a
decision,
problem.
Michael. It's in town council's letter to you. That if it's Dover, the Dover requires that if it went to site plan, the planning board can only issue reasonable regulations as dictated by Dover.
But we don't know what you're considering reasonable.
What's reasonable? Give me a little comfort level on reasonable.
Maybe it's easier.
Be too
Tell us
expensive.
what you think it
Would be
is.
something that we
I don't know.
wouldn't think about.
All right, I have a few. Could you make the parking lot smaller?
Could we make the parking?
Could you
lot-
require the parking lot to be smaller? this is just
Why would we do that?
hypothetical.
No, 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 but
I'm not
answer the
asking you
question.
that. I
Yes or
want an
no?
idea of
Could-
what kinds of things you could do.
I don't know exactly. That would most likely be something
Hmm?
that the Concom would do. to.
Could you lower the height of the building? Could you require lowering the height of the building, for
No,
example?
but we could recommend that if it was outside of, if it was greater than 2.5 stories or 35 feet in the IB district, we could recommend that that be waived, so that your building inspector could then waive it.
Are we there? Is that one?
Yes, no, we're over that.
That's
We
an
worried
issue.
about
Been
that?
there for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, so there are things that they could
They could
bring
put
up
stipulations
I'd
on
that,
like
would
to
have to
say
change.
that it
Right.
would, I personally believe, not just as chair of the planning board and an elected official, but as someone who's been behind this project since the very beginning, I honestly believe from the bottom of my heart that the best thing for the future for your permitting process down the line, okay, in August, is to come and before the planning board for formal site plan review. That's why the board isn't saying you're required to. The board is saying you're not prohibited to, under any of the opinions, and you're being invited.
He have advocated for the most expensive preferred option.
all right. Anyone else want to say anything?
Just again, to recap my position is, I wanna make sure that this project is done right, obviously.
We all do.
That's
We
their
all
own.
do.
Yep.
Everybody's
I think everybody does. My only concern is that I'm concerned about unreasonable conditions.
Me too.
That's and we're opening ourselves up to that.
Yeah.
Am I saying that the planning board is gonna play politics with this project? No. I would hope not, but, some people have certain things that they don't like. And, I'm not saying specifically that I know that, but why open ourselves up to that issue? Like, somebody doesn't like, the type of trees we're putting in, or somebody doesn't like the curbing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the person.
It's an open process, so you can come. And if you think it's unreasonable, you can so state it.
Right, but
Right,
then
but
we
then
don't have any
we don't
control
have
over
any
whether
This
it's.
is- We could state all we want.
We'll be on that side of the
We
fence.
always
Right,
listen
right.
to the applicants, that's crazy. I just told you, the
We'll be on that side of the fence.
Right,
proof
right.
of it is,
They'll be voting. That's the point.
listen, in 10 years, there were 1,000 more people in this town between 1999 and 2000 or something. It was really 1,000 people. That was 1,000 homes almost. 600 to 1,000 homes in 10 years. In all that time, the planning board, were they ever appealed?
I don't know.
No.
I've only been here 6
I
years.
wish they'd appealed my development.
No,
Yeah, we should, yeah.
Yeah.
no. So that
According to
tells
Bill, they don't
you
mind.
we're not unreasonable, right? In our bylaw, it asks us, and the people voted, that we have reasonable conditions. We didn't need any Dover law to tell us that.
Okay.
So, I think the risk is greater if you don't and you have a problem. And you might have a problem next year, the year after that.
But
That's-
but if we did, so
If you
hypothetically.
flood out Elm Street
Yeah.
and you don't get that drain down there, this is an example.
Right.
If you don't get that drain connected to another pipe on Elm Street,
Right.
you're flooding Elm Street.
I understand that, Tilly, but you really think
You
that
wanna
this-
take that risk?
Tilly, you really think that's gonna be, you're the only one that's gonna say that at planning board?
What?
The only people that are gonna require that? You got engineers, you got professionals telling you gotta do it anyway.
I know a lot of professionals. They built the high school, they built
I
the
understand that,
library,
but
they
how many
built
sets of eyes are looking
the-
at it?
Just one.
Yeah.
You know,
No, there's not just one, there's
Nobody
one,
is
two.
perfect.
No, he
All right,
is not
I
a
think it's-
technical review agent. He's not reviewing these drawings for that. You've got
I think
one.
it's
You've got
time-
the
I'll move the
engineer.
question.
That's important.
Well, wait till Tilly sits. She's gonna fall over. Yeah.
They are the seconds.
All right.
Let's go.
I think,
So,
I think the
the
last
motion
thing
on
that
the floor
last thing
is-
I'd like to say just on this part is that normally I'm in Carl's seat, and I've been doing this for about 30 years, and I can tell you that when we bring projects, what is in the best interest of the town is when we do our design work as the experts that you all put so much faith in, we do it to the best of our ability. And then we always bring it to the planning board for approval, and inevitably, they make the project better. And inevitably, they catch something that even our own experts miss. And I'm saying, if you truly want this to be the best project for the town that it can be, not what we think is necessarily just the best, but the planning board's perspective, then they deserve a shot at it for the town. Biggest project this town will ever see.
So, one last clarification, please. If we vote yes to bring formal site plan review, do the restrictions of the Dover Amendment go away?
No.
Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
We don't know.
So, if you get my vote, please, again, I just wanna pass this along. I would expect reasonable, okay, and we'll be, again, if there's something these guys missed and you say, hey, you know, that pipe is not hooked up there, or whatever you're gonna come up with. Right, not big enough, then that to me is reasonable, and we'll debate the issue. Just please, and Chris and I have had this conversation in different language. Please, I want the best project for this town, I want the best project for the kids, the taxpayers, everybody. But please, do not delay this project, do not add additional costs to this project, and be reasonable. You know, please, be reasonable about what we can do to this project. You know, if we're gonna talk about changing heights of the building, if we're gonna talk about changing the shape of the building, if we're talking about adding palm trees versus maple trees, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be a happy camper.
But the problem is, we will no longer have control over that.
Understandably, but they've been, that the planning board understands our concerns. And if we're gonna stick our necks out, we don't wanna look like a bunch of idiots down the road. And that's all I'm saying.
Well,
I think
I
that
would
what you
just like to,
said,
excuse
you
me,
could also say to the OPM and a DRA guy.
I also want to
That
point out,
holds true, and I think they got the message early.
Right.
That we're looking for the most practical, and we're looking for the best, so, you know, that's been all along.
I also want to point out that MSBA's attorney told us to follow what our attorney said, and Tilly made a valid point before. If something happens, that's the attorney that we will need on our side.
Right, but they'll still defend us if you pay them enough.
Yeah.
Right, Chris?
He did not say not to know.
Yeah.
He said it's your decision.
Yes. Are you ready to take it to a vote?
Can I
Yes.
have a-
Yep.
Do your engineers look over what he plans for the stormwater? So you don't review it?
We review it for practicality, we don't review it for engineering calculations.
But the engineer that the town hires for either conservation or planning board does do that?
He would do he would be reviewing what they do.
So what's the difference if that we have the conservation do it or the planning board do it?
Same guy.
Exactly.
I'm hearing it's the same person.
So,
It's the time frame that we're
But we don't
discussing.
know
I mean,
that it's
I
a
think we're
time
worried
frame.
about, if they don't have a quorum. This is a big project that, they should have a quorum.
Right.
It's a timing issue.
Timing
Have it done.
Well, that's not a reason to go against what the attorneys say for a timing issue.
Madam
We have a
Chair,
town
if
that
I may,
should be
I think you're
talking
misinterpreting
on his.
what the attorney said. The
Yeah.
attorney
No,
s-
I understand what you're saying. He advised us to not
That's not
file.
what he said, Madam Chair. I've read the letter.
Yeah.
He advised you that it's your decision. You are not required. He
We are
did
not required,
advise
correct.
you not to do it.
Yeah.
You keep, that's a,
Without
Right,
seeing
I think
the
it
we're
sounds
done.
like saying jump off the
Yep.
cliff or look off the cliff.
Yep,
There's
yep.
a big difference.
But without seeing this letter, I don't think it's fair for us to say that we're being, it's impossible for me to say, yes, I agree with that the attorney has advised us not to for these reasons. I haven't seen it, the letter, I don't know, it's not.
Did you find anything, Mike, that,
Can you do that? Can you get us that copy? Planning board, can you send us that?
I can send it to you, sure. Madam Chairman?
That'd be great.
what, yeah.
Could I just say that I've seen and I've read all three of those town council opinions. And I believe you may have missummarized a little bit or misinterpreted. What town council is saying is, you are not obligated to go for site plan approval. In none of those three did I read anything where they advise against going to site plan review. You are not prohibited.
No, we are not prohibited, that is
Not
correct.
prohibited
That's
from it.
correct.
You are, in their opinion, you're 100% exempt from it. But again, I'd just like to reiterate,
Okay.
planning board's not saying you must come.
Yep,
Planning
nope,
board-
I understand that.
You should, planning board's saying.
We understand.
Your benefit to, and you're being invited to.
And
All right.
we're exempt whether we do or we don't, all the way through, because we're protected by,
Exempt from zoning, Eric?
No.
You're only exempt
If
from
we do a
zoning.
file,
If we file.
if we
have
file,
to
we are
follow what
not
the plan-
exempt
Correct.
from anything the planning board requests.
You're not exempt from Concom or from stormwater management.
Right.
Erosion control bylaw, all of those things, you're not exempt at all.
I'd like
We've
to,
always been
With
subject.
Concom?
and Ms.
but we were always subject to them.
Right,
With
and that's what- that
Concom.
was
Yeah.
our plan. to-
Yeah.
Harry, and it's gonna be reviewed by, whether it's conservation or
Yeah.
planning.
Let's vote.
Harry,
Okay.
I think, and I'd like
Thank
to
you.
reiterate what David said. I think there is a real level of trust and working together here that goes without saying, but that we all need to, you know, just be conscious about, that we're all on the same team and this reasonableness, and I know you will, but it just needs to be reiterated, because
Sure.
there's a little bit of a leap that people feel like they're
Okay,
taking
will
here.
you read the motion back, please?
It was hard to catch it, but I'll see if I got it. Tilly made a motion, seconded by George, to have DRA file for site plan review with the planning board.
Okay. Does that sound?
That's it.
Okay.
Tried to simplify it, but I hope I got it. Just-
It's simple.
Okay. All in, and George seconded, okay. All in favor of filing a formal site application with the planning board?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on. Old business.
I know you've got. You won't be disappointed.
Please don't disappoint us. Please don't.
You will be. I believe you'll be very pleased.
I do hope so.
I honestly still want to reiterate, your timeline just accelerated.
I hope so. Thank
Oh, I
you.
firmly believe
Thank
that.
you. I mean, I hope you realize we're all on the same book, same page.
Accelerated your timeline by 2 months.
All right, for new business, this actually, Harry, before you leave, is why you came.
The open space? Yeah.
Yes. On March 20, I wrote it down, what did I write down? March 26th, I reached out to GAA, and they're very busy with their turf field, but asked if we would be willing to attend a GAA meeting with the architectural firm to discuss the fields, and they will invite the Conservation Commission, the Parks and Recs are usually present at that meeting also. So I know, Rob, you had expressed interest, George, you know, you've been working on it, so I will put in an agenda for that evening. I'll do it as a joint meeting, so that if anyone else on the committee would like to attend.
When is that?
It's March 26th. I'll send a reminder out to you, but it's the GAA's, I believe the meeting starts at 7. It's the
Synthetic
GAA.
Turf Advisory Committee.
No, this is the regular GAA meeting. They're gonna set aside about 45 minutes for us to meet with them prior to the start of their meeting, or as part of their meeting, actually. And their meetings are held at the VFW.
March what?
26th,
I'm there.
okay? So I will, I will send, I believe it's at 7, but I'll send the information out to you, all right? So I just want you to know that that is scheduled, and
And that's to discuss the use of the new field.
it's to discuss the use of the new, not just the use, but the size, you know,
Just make
things
sure
that
that
we've been
we're-
going over with the site council, the layout, right?
Can I speak to the open space? Harry, you talked earlier about the fields and this overall
Open space,
plan.
recreation
Are
plan.
you including GAA, Ms. Pingree, the people that were in last night? Is that all one whole master?
What Brown Walker Planners, the consultant that's been hired to do the plan, will be doing, it's basically a 3-step process. The town departments, Park and Rec, Peter, all in, school building committee, the schools, Mike Anderson, all of the town boards and some of the private entities such as GAA are all gonna get a survey sent to them. They're gonna
You know what,
submit-
Harry, we really need to cut this off, Dave. We haven't even started our meeting.
They're involved, that's all I
They
want
are,
to know.
yes, they're all involved, that's all you wanted to know.
If you cut a blade of grass.
Don't you leave this meeting
We're
early.
spending $2 million on a field at the high school if we go ahead and do that. You're on CPC, that whole project. I want to make sure that that's all part of this whole master plan.
Yes, it-
Okay,
it's
let's move
finalized.
on. We haven't even started our meeting yet. All right, so, Carl, would you like to update us? I don't know if we need any more updates on the Conservation Commission meeting. I
Nothing
think
further
we're pretty
than
there.
what I just reported on,
Okay.
filing plans in early April for the April 25th meeting.
Now that we're gonna file with the planning board, what's your expectation to file with the planning board?
The same plans.
Same plan,
Same
because you're gonna have
basic
the
level of
engineering stuff done.
completeness,
Okay,
yeah, so
So we
I'm
have
not
the
sure
same
when their
dates,
next
yeah.
meeting is relative to that date, but
All right. Is there anything you want to say about the submittal, the DD submittal to MSBA?
well,
Let Pat talk about
most
it.
important thing is that we got very prompt comments back already from the design development submission from MSBA, which is good. That's a good sign. They're speeding things up from the past. Literally, we just got them, what was it, yesterday? So we haven't gone through them in detail. They're always, they follow a template, so they look sort of extensive, it comes out to, 8 pages. But about 6 of those pages are just their boilerplate. They repeat the issue, and then in italics, they have comments. And I'd say there are a few comments for the OPM, a few comments for the design team. Many of the comments have to do with things they're looking for the next submission. We will still respond to it now, but and say, yes, we will incorporate this in the next submission. And there were a few comments that need update now, but nothing serious. And we can elaborate next time in that regard. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I would just
Pat,
say
in
that
that regard.
it's unusual that they would be this quick with a response. We asked them to respond quickly because we told them we were going right into CDs, and they accommodated it. And again, the very fact that there's, we've already gone through this with Kyle's people and ourselves, and we've noted each page as to what's going to be responded to. The things we got to respond to, we can do those in a half a day. Kyle's got a few more things to do, but there's really nothing of any great consequence. I think it was a real good packet, and again, it's moved us into the CDs very well.
There's a good quote, one of the first comments. The drawings and specifications appear to be developed beyond the required level of a design development submission while consistent with the project parameters. So,
Which is an advantage in getting us ahead on the 60% that we've got to submit.
All right.
Yeah, so,
That's good.
yeah, it was good. And with regard to that budget that we submitted, there was some discussion last time around about what it meant to the budget and so forth.
Wait a minute. Was your question about
Nah,
that? Okay,
Way off.
go ahead, Pat.
I was just gonna say, just to bring you up to date, we did go back in and re-plug in everything, and we did some more research with the estimators and so forth. What's gone into MSBA, and I'll just pass this around quick. It's just a one-page explanation. It's a snapshot in time, which is gonna change at 60, and it's gonna change at 90. But the last time we sat, we were somewhat concerned about the distribution between the site and the building and so forth as to what it would mean to the taxpayers. And if you look at the bottom line, this particular snapshot, when you consider it's a $46 million deal, there's a difference of about $185,000, which again, when you're talking $46 million, it's just about as neutral as you're gonna get. This is gonna be looked at at 60, it's gonna be looked at 90, and as we go forward, if we see any place in there that adjustments have to be made with value engineering, we'll be looking at all of that very hard. So I think the next time we sit down and we start looking at the 60%, then we will have a list of items, if we have to, that would be value engineering items that we'd be offering to get things under control. But right now, the two estimates were $6,000 apart after we went through the whole thing. And one thing I did want to point out, when you look at the cost and compare them to the approved budget, if you look at the mock-ups, you see looks like there's been a big reduction in mock-ups. That's a little misleading. As we said previously, as we go forward, the escalation costs are decreased because there's a shorter period of time, and design contingency is reduced by quite a bit. So there's been a reduction of 10% that's moved up into the hard costs. The reason is there's a lot more to price up. Prior to, when you're dealing with schematic design, there's a lot more holes in the design, so the design contingency that the estimators carry is more. As you advance the design, there's more information, then there's things they can price up. So a lot of the costs that went from the mock-up went up into the building side, which is why you see that difference. Yes.
Yeah, can you break that down even with that, why the site costs?
I can
About
do,
$1 million.
we can give you a complete breakdown. I figured at this point I would do, I can send off as much as you want, because we have 3011s, we have the construction estimates, And we can, like I said, we can send you whatever you'd like to see. The bottom line is that we were very close. If you need more than that, we can certainly break it down.
Are we all done with the value costing?
No.
No,
We
we're
do
only
that
at
every step we
40%.
do it. Every step we do that, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, every step.
One question I had is some of the prices were so exorbitant. I thought, you're including wages with these costs?
This includes everything. This is the cost to build the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, what
Yeah.
I was disappointed in is that, like, for instance, the tile. You had one price for one tile, and the other price was for what we selected. And I didn't think it was a fair vision for the whole school. I think it should be, this is gonna cost you $500,000, and this is gonna cost you $350,000. I think I would prefer knowing the total for all of the building, rather than one piece of a tile. Is that
This
possible?
is-
Referring to the
this is a-
VE
this-
list. I think she's referring to the
You talking
VE
about the
list.
value engineering list,
I
you
think
mean?
so.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
you
All right.
know?
We
That's-
didn't pass out our value engineering list that night because we had just gotten the estimate from Carl's estimator, so we had ours roughed out.
Yeah.
Kyle had put together his, and again, it's simply showing some of those items that were potential items that could be considered in value engineering.
Right.
We haven't pursued any of those yet. There's no changes have been made. But when we advance to that level, there will be a whole list of items showing all those things and what it means to the whole
We'll have
building.
enough time to hash
Oh,
it
yes.
out?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because
Because that's
what I
done,
was concerned
that's
with.
gonna be done, that's gonna be done at 60%. It's gonna be done again at 90%. We hope that we can get a good feel at 60%. Because as the documents have been prepared in excess of what MSBA would have anticipated for a level of completion at DD,
Yeah.
we anticipate the same thing is gonna happen with the 60s. As a matter of fact, I have expectations that the site will probably be 100% because it's gonna go into Concom and now it's gonna go into Planning Board. So we think that that's gonna all dovetail in with getting everything, the site 100%, even though MSBA will expect 60%.
Yeah.
We're gonna have 100% because we're gonna be looking for the approval from Planning Board and Concom. And then at that point, we're gonna be so advanced that we'll be able to get a much better estimate. And we'll lay out for you all the items in collaboration with DRA, all of the items that we need or we suggest that we consider in case we move forward. And as late as the time we get the job ready for bid, and at the time we get bids in, there may be suggestions for alternates in there to obviously make some cuts in case numbers come in higher. But we're gonna be looking at protective steps at each one of these steps that we go through.
Yeah, but generally, what is driving the $1 million site cost above budget? Can you?
Well,
list
again,
some-
as I
list
said-
some items that are causing that?
Well, as I said, if you look at that little breakdown, a lot of the dollars get shifted around because a lot of the dollars, if you look at that supposed $1 million, if you look at that figure that says site costs, that's up so dramatically. If you take and apply about 15% to the site costs on the approved budget side, it simply moved up those costs into the design category. So the difference is probably more like $300,000 or $400,000 in difference between the two. But I can give you, if you want, we can give you a complete breakdown. You can look at all of it.
I think the drainage is the biggest thing that probably changed from
We budgeted
schematic.
300,000, so how much above budget are we on drainage?
No, I mean total drainage
Total.
for the whole
Yeah,
project.
total drainage,
That was
yeah,
just
yeah.
Elm Street.
Yeah.
Well, that's, excuse me.
Yeah, the Elm Street, we didn't break it out exactly, but that's pretty close to that estimate, actually. in
Okay, so we
terms of-
did estimate
Yeah.
for. like,
Yes.
But this is for the
Yeah.
rest of the site, I'm saying,
Yeah.
the difference between schematic design and design development, a lot of it was that. I think we had more curbing, more pavement, slightly
I was
now,
taking,
but.
when I was
know,
in the
you were trying to
subdivision,
take it out.
I was trying to take out the curb.
I know, but even with that, we have more granite curbing probably now than we did back at
And we
schematic
shrunk the
design.
pavement considerably, right?
We shrunk the pavement, he's saying, but there's.
The granite went up.
From schematic, yeah. I mean, it
Those
went up
islands.
and then came back
Yeah.
down through tightening it, but still, when it came back down, it was still more than we started with at schematic. Yeah.
By the way, I should mention, a full packet of what was submitted to MSBA, with both of the construction estimates, the 3011 budget that went to MSBA, all of that either has been sent or will be sent to Mike's office. I don't know if you received it yet, Mike. A full DD packet?
Yes, we have.
You have the notebook, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you do.
That whole notebook in there contains our estimate, it contains Kyle's estimate, it contains the overall budget, So I'd suggest you go down, I mean, it's in a loose leaf, you can run any copies of it you want, if you have questions, you can give us a call, we'd be happy to kind of walk you through it. But I thought tonight, if we started to go through how MSBA compares and does their formulas, and how each one of these items, of these multiple estimates, all dovetail with each other, we'd probably be here till tomorrow morning sometime.
Well, that's what I was thinking, you know, do you want a list from all of us to review certain areas? Or do you want to just wait for a meeting and we?
I think my suggestion would be, like we've always done it, is that we would simply continue to proceed. Everything's been designed in conjunction with all of the subgroup meetings, all of the votes you've taken, all of the information you'd stirred into the equation. That's what these documents now contain. And it's all expressed in that very, very explanatory packet.
I think basically too, we're on budget right now.
Yeah.
We're carrying these items, the items you're referring to, Tilly, as kind of a safety valve,
Yeah.
so that each point along the way, if the scope has changed, or if the escalation or something hits us that we need to, make further cutbacks, then we go to that list or other items that
Yeah.
would come up. But right now, we've incorporated all of the input, and we're on budget. So, that's the good news.
Yeah.
But we still, in MSBA's, wants us to still carry that list just in case as we move along the project. And we may still have an item or two, even at the time we go to bid,
Yeah.
in the form of an alternate.
Because I saw,
So-
I was going through some, I took an hour, and there was so many things that I would have changed that the last result that we did see, I wasn't, satisfied with, and we didn't do any votes, really.
We did actually
On
do
some
votes.
things.
Some things,
Some things, yeah.
but
Yeah.
not all of it,
If you go
Really
back.
didn't need to, right? That was the point.
When you look at that,
Right.
anybody that looks at that packet, you'll see there's a section in there that says value engineering. MSBA requires that we come up and we do we look at every sheet of drawings, read every spec and so forth, and just list areas we think, in some cases, could be alternates or could be value engineering items. Okay, and you'll find that in the packet. And there's 6 pages, and then you'll see the X's.
Yeah.
The X's show where we think you might consider, or there might be a possibility of making some changes. There's three pages of spec reviews and 3 pages of plan reviews. Those have all been sent to Kyle, he's got them all. And again, as we go forward and start to monitor all, we will actually start to share any of these things with you that we think there are areas, if we see things are spiking up, or there's an
We'll go
unusual.
through each of those X's on the sheet.
Well, we'll be going through those with Kyle, seeing where the budget is, and then we'll get to a point where we'll see where we are with it, and then we'll be discussing those things with you that we all agree with Kyle should be put in front of you.
And you have that now in a leaflet.
It's in there.
In-
Oh, sure.
in
MSBA
my
says MSBA would
It's in the
consider it
copy Mike
irresponsible
has.
if we
Yeah.
didn't make a plan. Every one of the jobs has to have a fallback position. All that thinking is all in place.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that's good, because
Yeah.
that was my concern. Some
Yeah.
of those choices didn't make any sense to me.
Now, that's a pretty
But
voluminous
I'm just
packet, to look at, but I mean,
Yeah.
you can find sections, value engineering, you can find the section on estimates.
Yeah.
Look at ours, look at Kyle's, and we've done a lot of work before they went into that book to
Yeah.
kind of reconcile the bottom line back and forth. You'll always
Be a
find.
Good value, $15,000. I want to see a lot of detail.
Well, you'll see, it cost you more than that, because that's Kyle's bill. I didn't even include my bill because we didn't have his invoice yet, but I was, I think, it was 7,500 or whatever it was.
Fogarty's
something.
bill, wasn't it?
A.M.
Did Fogarty
Fogarty.
get a piece
You
of
didn't
it?
get, you didn't get a Fogarty invoice in this one here.
No.
You'll be seeing that next time around. I think that was about 11,000 or something like that.
Right, and
Yeah,
we'll continue to talk about the value engineering products and, alternatives as we move through this process and continue doing
Yeah.
this. But I think I just want to point out that, in your experience, so we're 40%, give or take, done, and we're within $185,000 of where we said, like, Georgetown share would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
on a $46 million project.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
I consider it almost neutral, based on the size of the
That's-
project.
So-
At this point, it's a snapshot in time.
Yep, so, obviously, we know that a lot can change because we're only at 40%. We have a long way to go, but,
Yeah.
like I said, we do have these value engineering alternatives out there
Right.
that we know that we can pull from, and I think that that's good news. So that's, to the credit of everything that everybody on the committee has worked on to get us to our DD state. So I think that was good. So,
Carl,
thank you.
Can you were explaining to George on the 1 point whatever million increase in the site. You said drainage, curbing, pavement were the 3 primary ones roughly. would it be fair to say the drainage is the vast majority of it?
Yes, yeah.
Do you have a sense of what that is?
I don't have the estimate with me, but it was hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Because there's a lot of underground leaching galleys
Yeah.
that, their calculations revealed they needed, where we thought we might be able to, put the water back through a bioretention area or something. Now we've got structured areas under a lot of the parking areas.
So that basically, and just for curbing and pavement really are non-issues for this overrun here. The drainage.
It
so
is,
just
the
so I
drainage is a big one.
Yeah, so what I understand is between the two phases, before it was just getting the water into the ground, but now you have to have a complete system under there,
Right.
basically.
It's all structures. in
It's an expensive way to provide a lot of voids under the ground for this water to go in, so it doesn't go off-site.
I was asked, where the infiltration's going in, what were the groundwater levels? So I imagine.
The site varies so much, it's hard to give one straight answer there, George. I mean, generally.
I haven't seen a groundwater level map. I imagine you did the modeling in geotech work.
Yeah.
Did they do modeling for groundwater levels when they did that?
They did, yeah, and it's generally down around 10 feet or so in a lot of places. It's pretty far down.
So where the infiltration's going in, we got plenty of room.
Yeah, we're well above that. And again, in some places it's shallower. I think the shallowest might have been 6 feet, as I recall, below surface. But generally it's down around 10, and in a lot of places we didn't hit it at all, in the exploratory test pits.
So especially where the infiltration's going on, you did.
Right, they made sure they did test pits where the infiltration's being located, so.
I can tell you, George, that when we built the original school, and all the excavation we did, then we moved hundreds of, not hundreds, but tens of thousands of yards, and a lot of excavation to get some of those utilities in and so forth. It was a great site to work on. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is beneficial here, is that, it was a sufficiently granular material that we never had problems, and, we had a winter, we were laying that out with 3 feet of snow out there, tromping through it, and you would think there'd be a real mud hole in the spring. We moved everything with scrapers. I think I showed everybody the pictures. I mean, and you can't move stuff with scrapers if you have a muddy site, so the site was a very good site to work on, very forgiving, so we had no water problems at the time. I wouldn't think the hydrology's changed that much in 40 years that it would constitute a problem, but hey, you never know. They've done the test, they've gone out there, seems to be consistent with what we had at the time.
And just to qualify that statement, the site was, for drainage, was good to work with in
Yes.
that regard.
Yeah.
For drainage. Because everything else is
A challenge.
a challenge.
It was, we enjoyed working on it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
great to see the trees go down and get cleared and see the dirt move around. No, it was a good job. It was excellent.
All right.
Okay.
What about the project schedule? Is there anything you want to go over with
Everything
that-
is
on that?
consistent, and we have our report. Chuck, why don't you just walk them through that report? There's a schedule attached to the back, but we've been consistent with that schedule all the way through, and nothing has changed.
The only thing we'll have to change now is we'll have to
Planning
include
board.
the dates for,
Planning and
planning board
conservation.
submissions, the conscom submissions, the dates for review and all that. We'll have to include that in there, and the MSBA had made one or two other small comments and the comments that were sent to us regarding, they wanted us to include some additional time for them to review the 60 and the 90s within our submission, so that's fine. Won't impact our schedule at all, but no, the schedule that's included in the report, it's on page 6, reflects what was submitted to the MSBA as part of the design development submission. The schedule on page 7 actually is, the front and back, and just trying to save trees.
Next page. Yeah, it does say page 1, but on the
Does?
corner it says page 7.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, page
It says
7.
page 7 on the bottom left, bottom right corner.
All right, doesn't take much to throw us off here.
So that's actually a high school schedule, and that's not changed because, again, it hasn't been in front of the board yet, so it's really the MSBA board yet, which is scheduled for the 1st of April. So once that happens, we'll elevate that, and as Pat had indicated at that last meeting, once they do that, this will turn into 2 projects. So we'll do 2 monthly reports, and we'll do 2 sets of meeting minutes.
And sort of 2 meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna probably go back to back.
Yeah, you can do it back to back, yeah. The one thing I did want to point out
Very
is,
short ones on those for high school to start off with.
we've made contact with them, because the first thing you need at this point is a conference call or a meeting in Boston to get everything rolling. to get their approval to sign contracts with us to do this, the feasibility schematics, and just to set everything in motion, talk about where we are, what's required from them. I've called them on it. They said they'd be back to us and they'd arrange something in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And that's really the stepping stone to get that whole high school, middle school moving.
For both those meetings, the Concom and the planning board, we have our own secretaries that do minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's, yeah, we'd expect that would happen.
Mike's got a question.
Mike?
What do we have to have at town meeting? And what's the ballot vote?
We don't have one this spring.
That's
We
a
won't have
year,
one.
that's a year away,
But
Mike.
we're next spring.
It's the
Spring
MSBA.
14.
You scared me.
The whole thing now if you want.
Yeah.
What it is.
That train has left the
Okay.
station.
I was just looking
Right.
at the master schedule, and according to this, construction of new building starts November 4th. Is that the day you break ground, or?
That's the
Yes.
day, that's the day you would
They
actually go over the
mobilize
shovel.
on site.
November 4th?
Yeah.
You make it a warmer time than
Well, this one says they start
got in trouble.
March.
You can have
The water's
groundbreaking,
frozen.
you can have groundbreaking before that.
Construction start.
No, construction
That's
of
what the
new,
high school tell you.
you're on the wrong page again. I
Yeah.
went back to the other one.
Page
Page
6.
6.
Yeah.
Page 6.
He's moving around.
I went back to the master schedule. All right, so we can expect to break ground the first week of November. All right.
No, but when you mentioned Mike, I had a question it's not gonna go back to the ballot if we needed more money. It only goes to town meeting, is what I understand.
We're talking about two different things. The
Depends how
ballot
we
vote is
fund it.
gonna be for the,
Depends how
middle
we fund
school, for potentially for the middle school,
the high school.
Yeah.
middle high school,
Middle high
yes.
school.
Depends how we fund it.
Yeah.
Right, right now, we're only in the feasibility stage for the high school.
We don't know what
needs
we're
to be
gonna
done.
do.
We don't know what the project
You
is.
don't know what it is for
Correct.
the high school.
Right.
Right,
If
so,
you do aesthetic school, you
Yeah,
don't have
depends how you fund it.
right,
Right.
it
If we,
depends,
if we mysteriously had enough in free cash, we could just do a town meeting vote, done.
right, it depends on what
Reserve
comes from
fund
the
trans,
feasibility
reserve,
study.
stab fund, we don't know.
Pembroke, if you run short,
We're not gonna run
We're not
short.
planning
We
to-
can't.
We're not gonna.
No, we can't.
We have our budget, we're trying to live
No.
within the budget, that's the goal.
No.
Yeah. All right,
It's reasonable.
and Carl, you need to meet with,
these guys aren't saying anything. I only see Chuck, he's looking at me.
Stop looking at Tilly, Chuck.
Stop looking at Tilly.
Chuck, was there anything else you wanted
Go on.
on that? Okay. Carl, you need to meet with staff again?
Yes, as we get into the real final details of a lot of spaces and equipment and things, we'll need to schedule another round of meetings with the administration and specialists in particular. You know.
Right.
So I assume you're planning that,
I just want to avoid MCAS.
Yeah, I think Courtney sent out something with some possible windows of time, Carol.
Recently?
Yeah.
She sent those to us for about meetings. I don't know that she sent anything. I didn't see anything.
We'll do
This is-
that.
this is the
We'll
one
give
she-
you some time.
Here's the one she sent, Kyle, I believe.
Yeah, there was.
You should,
No, there was
why
another one
don't
about.
you
there another one? Yeah, I
email
see that one,
Courtney MCAS dates
Yeah.
and say,
What are the
just
dates?
avoid
Do you
them.
know?
I'll get them.
If you get them to us, we'll give you what we need. It's only probably another day or two of, round robin meetings that we can touch on the various specialists
Yeah.
that we need.
All right.
Based on that,
And,
I have one thing, when
I got that.
it's
Yeah.
appropriate.
let me just finish this and then you're all set. Update on CD kickoff meeting, the construction documents. That's
Right,
right.
right.
You've
Now
been
that-
talking about that.
Yeah.
We're going to the next phase. We had another full team, design team, and Pat joined us, a coordination meeting in our office. We've already picked up on the design development, set of drawings and started, picking up things that need to be coordinated and as we move ahead into construction documents. In the course of doing that, a couple things came up that I'd like to share with you, some of which, or maybe all of which, we don't necessarily need to answer tonight, but we need to start working on, because some of them might have long lead time to get answers. But one of the things that we haven't talked too much about till now is about phasing, construction phasing on the project. We've talked about it sort of very broadly, generically, but this is one of the more challenging aspects of public bidding in Massachusetts in construction. It's a lump sum bid. Everything has to be spelled out for the contractors. And one of the important first steps is to tell them not only, you know, when can they start the construction, November 4th, when do they have to finish it by? Those are certainly the end parameters. But there's some other limitations we have to put on them in advance. Obviously, we got an existing school here. We can't just say, you know, start to work, fellas, here's the site. We have to define where they can work and where the, you know, the school is going to continue to occupy the site. So we have to draw a line on the site. And that line usually is a construction fence, at least. It can be more than that. And the way we've identified phasing right now, and we did include this in the design development cost estimates, just briefly, the existing school is here right now. Here's the driveway coming in from Elm Street. The teacher's parking lot is right here. So we envision, you know, the dividing line initially being the edge of the teacher's parking lot. In other words, the entire existing parking lot is untouched and is able to be used the way it is currently. But the contractor will use that pavement to access the site. There'd be a construction fence at least here with a gate to get into the site at that point. Then everything here would be under their control and responsibility. So the first question is to think about how much fence do we want around the site. This is the contractor's area. On some jobs, you know, if we're right in somebody's backyard, we tell them very literally, you know, around every inch of the site, put up an 8-foot fence and maintain it secure every night, every day during the construction. You know, so on weekends, no kid rides his dirt bike in there to have fun in the piles and stuff.
Why would you need a 8-foot fence around the green area?
That's exactly why we're talking, George. On a site this big and this kind of remote, we may not need that, because if we specify it, you're going to pay for it, you know, in this bid. What we think you need as a minimum, at least, is across here, you know, to separate the school from the ongoing construction. And we definitely need to think about, you know, access coming up this way and blocking that off somehow. But it's somewhat questionable as to whether we need to fence off. And even if we don't tell the contractor he has to do it, he may choose to do it. But you gotta remember, everything that we require him to do, he's gonna put a price tag on. If he wants to do it just for the protection of his own equipment here, he's free to do that. And this brings up another issue that you may want to involve Koppelman and Page on it, or at some point in time, is to review, you know, the town's approach to insurance and liability. Those are things, you know, we can't really advise you on. Those are others who can do that.
Carl,
But
we would need builder's risk insurance.
Yes, and that's, again, typically the contractor provides that. That's insurance
But
that...
it would have to be named as an additional.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's insurance that covers sort of the construction in progress, you know, as work gets done here. If some material is stolen from the site, it could be covered by that policy.
Or the building gets hit by lightning and there's some damage,
Yeah,
the
if there's a
policy
fire
pays
during construction
both
while the
sides.
building's still, you haven't taken it over yet, but you may have paid for it partly because you make progress payments, yet a fire may damage some of that. You don't want to have to pay for it again, you know, to have them rebuild it. You haven't,
How does that dovetail with, did you pick up the trailheads that get?
No, that's
terminated?
another issue that we mentioned, Rob. There are some trails here that currently would lead into the site. We'd
So-
obviously have to do something in those regards
Yeah,
too.
you're not
So
showing
when-
all the whole site. There are a couple of trail entrances right in the bottom.
Right here, yeah.
On the bottom corner.
There's another one down here?
It's
Yeah,
one.
the site trails off here, goes all the way to here, the property line.
So,
Yeah, and there's a
Carl-
trail
Yeah.
that
Yes,
extends,
this one right there.
that extends right off the site into state land.
Yep, right here.
Yeah.
And it comes up into the site.
So when you see the pieces that you know you need, like that major one,
Yes.
and then the right of way,
And then,
and then
yeah.
the trailheads, how does the discussion? When does the discussion with town council advise to? You might just as well fence the whole thing because it's a public park. I'm not suggesting that's
Well,
what they're going to say,
Town
but
council may not advise you on fencing, but more about, you know, builder's risk, make sure the contractor's protected, make sure the town's protected from liability there. But some towns, again, even though it may be the contractor's site and they're responsible for safety on the site, you still may want, for your own peace of mind,
okay.
to buy more fence.
Just one
It's a
quick
judgment
point,
call.
because it's a public park that a lot of people are in.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
The builder's risk policy is gonna protect the physical aspects of the building.
property.
Yes.
The general contractor will be asked to carry millions of dollars worth of liability insurance.
Right.
Now, that's where we usually go to the town council or the town, and usually it's it might be $5 million policy with a rider to take it to 10 million. I mean, the policies are getting bigger and bigger, but that's something that'll be written into the specification. So you've got the all-risk policy that they'll purchase that protects the physical aspects of the building, but then the general contractor is gonna be asked to carry, and also in the name of the insured, the town, they'll be carrying a huge policy for liability.
Yeah.
So that's one issue to think about. Again, we don't need answers tonight, but I wanted to put these on the table. But another aspect of this too, obviously, the contractor needs this area, to build the school. It needs access, and we would direct them to say that the primary access is from this point, and we'd be very specific, a point in the teacher's parking lot as they pull in there that wouldn't restrict, the parking or the buses that flow around that parking lot daily, and the parents' cars that flow around, so there'd be a gate there, and we'd have hours of operation. Remember, we talked about that they couldn't, come and go during the morning arrival or afternoon pickup. So that affects this, but remember, the contractor has some work to do here too. So we have to give them access to that land. One question is, how much access do we want to give them to do that? They have to put in a water line, and they have to construct this emergency drive there. We also, this road has frontage on Elm Street. If we didn't say anything otherwise, the contractor would say, oh, I can access the site this way too then. So that's where we have to put limitations on things. If we don't want them to access, we have to say that. We have to spell that out. If we don't want them, they're going to be working on this for what?
2 years.
2 years. We may not want this piece of land to be under construction for 2 years. Because they may start it, they may leave it open, come back. It doesn't really take 2 years to do the work in there. So we may want to be a little more specific on this piece of land and, require a fence here, say no access at all, no truck access, no, maybe passenger car, I don't know. There may be, remember, we're trying to get the best price, so we want to give the contractors the most flexibility in how they manage the property, but at the same time, we have to be, safe and respectful of the neighborhood.
As part of the construction access, I'm assuming the construction documents will get into anti-tracking devices and all sorts of.
We got that already in our.
It's already in there.
Yeah, so they don't track mud off the site, and, they're responsible for cleaning the
Because the
adjacent
school
streets.
needs to be clean.
Right.
I think the
That's
philosophy
it.
we've discussed with the
So-
area, I think we're on the same page, is we're trying to be restrictive, not prescriptive. In other words, we don't want to say, do this, do this, do this, do. What we want to say is, you can't do these things that are going to affect the community, the educational process, so that we're letting the creative juices flow. So we want to say, you can't use that road during certain periods of time, you can't do this, you can't go over this line, rather than try and create so many items that it takes away
Right.
from the creativity of what they're going to be doing out
For
there.
us as designers is
Yeah.
to not sort of step over the line and tell them how to build the building, but just what it wants to be when it's all done. Although
Nights-
we know there are some
Nights and weekends
issues.
out.
We
Well,
can
that-
prescribe that.
Well, usually
based on
nights and weekends
bylaws,
usually
but-
have town bylaws, and they would have to abide by the town bylaws unless they got a waiver. In other words, if they had to do something, yeah. Yeah.
There's an issue, planning board.
For instance, within
Yeah.
the site,
It's in the planning
we
board.
know
Yeah.
the contractor needs a trailer, he needs area to lay down material, he needs area to park his vehicles. Some jobs, we actually tell them where they can do that. Here, I don't think that feel the need to do that, but we're certainly gonna tell them all his activities, all of those
Yeah.
things I just ticked off, have to happen in this pink area here. None of it can happen in this
Yeah,
area.
you can't go over here, you
During
can't
that
go over
phase.
there, you know?
Carl, and if, for example, you wanted to have construction going on Saturdays, or you wanted to extend it, the planning board is the one to give you the waivers. So that's,
The issue is,
Those are
yeah,
important to
Little
ask
League and
for.
soccer and everything going on weekends and
Over here,
nights.
yeah.
Yeah, but they park all on that drive, so if
Yeah.
you got trucks trying to come through there, it's not easy.
I don't think they're gonna
The
have trucks every
RFP
day. They
you
may
must
be
have a template
building and
that
they'll
you
be,
follow.
everything will be on.
I'm
site
sorry?
that they
You
need.
must have a template that you follow to do the RFP there for that.
Although, yeah, there's a whole list of items that are being
Yeah,
addressed.
Oh,
What
yeah,
you don't
there-
wanna
there's-
do,
There's a
and-
phone
Oh, yeah,
book worth
yeah.
of,
I would imagine.
Oh, yeah,
guidelines
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of all these
Yeah.
restrictions and things.
Yeah.
But anyways, getting back to the overall zoning, this is the first area, obviously, and the school would be using this area. The simple, if that were all that were needed, once the school is complete for that year, in, what is it, 15, yeah,
Yeah.
June of 2015,
Yeah.
whenever the last day of school is, and we give the school department some time to vacate the premises, maybe a week to 10 days at most, then we turn this area over to the contractor. And they'd have all of this.
8
under-
hours.
under their
Yeah, 2
control.
days they'll be in there, guaranteed.
Yeah.
They'd have all this under control. So that's relatively simple. The little quirk we have, though, is the septic system. And again, we're trying to be as flexible as we can to get the best price. But the existing septic system fields are right here. They're right, where the access is gonna be. They're also in an area that wants to be filled. The natural, this is a low point on the site right now. It's gonna come up about 10 or 12 feet in some places. And there's a lot of cut over here. The contractor would love to be able to take this material when he cuts it and puts it there to fill. But with an ongoing septic system that has to be maintained here, they're not gonna be able to do that necessarily if this is live. One of the possibilities would be that they use the holding tank
Tight tank.
as a tight tank and pump it out at their own expense for the duration of the job until the new septic is in. And a smart contractor may do the math and figure out, yeah, even if I have to pump that every week at a cost of a couple $1,000, it's gonna save me in the long run. And we want to allow them to do that if it's possible. We're checking with the Board of Health as to whether they would allow that. Secondly is, the new field goes in over here, and they're not gonna have access to this half of the site.
That's
till
the lower part of the playground behind the school?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have access to this half of the site, till 2015, that last summer. They could build that last summer, but like I said, they'd either be having to keep this field live or be pumping it out. They probably want to try and get in there early, the first summer, the summer of 2014. So again, that's why we've identified this zone as sort of a subset, because I
Can I
think
ask you
we'd like to
something?
be able to say, during the summer of 2014, if you want, you could have access to this. We're not gonna tell them you have to build it,
Yeah.
but we tell them you could have access to this area. Again, we check with the school department.
So if they did do that,
Yeah.
use that option,
They
would they,
reconnect the existing school to that new field for
Would the-
one school year.
it would take a full school year? Like, couldn't that be done in the summer and then leveled and the kids could actually use it until
That's the
further
second
notice?
part of the
Next question, yeah.
Oh.
If we do this, it's gonna be in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna put in all the pipes and they're gonna put the earth on top of it. If they were to plant grass, in just the ordinary course of planting grass, it's not gonna be ready for September to play on. You'd have to fence it off, let the grass grow, not touch it, and come back and maybe the spring it'd be ready. If you wanted that field sooner, because you don't wanna lose playground space, there are a couple things that could be done. Most expensive, you could put down sod.
Yeah.
That's not in the price right now. Secondly, you might be able to put down something like ryegrass, something that grows very quick, and maybe you got it in, at the end of August, you could start playing on it in October, I don't know.
We don't
That's a
have
little
one field in
touchy.
Georgetown with real grass, so that's.
Yeah, I know.
So,
We're used to
the other
Don't throw
thing-
anybody off, huh?
The other thing, you could, put down some mulch there or something, but it's not really
Mulch
conducive
isn't
to
gonna
like
work,
soccer
yeah.
or something.
All those ticks.
Or you just fence it off and say you can't play on it that summer, or that fall, until the grass comes in. So that's a second issue to think about, and again, we'll check with the school department too.
Yeah.
And get their thoughts on, having that be out of commission. But we do think it's in the project's interest to allow that possibility, because there's gonna be a lot of cost in moving earth on this site. And the more we can help the contractor sort of keep it on the site, the lower the cost is gonna be in general.
That lower field, we keep talking about,
Lower field back here?
yeah, the lower field with the septic system in, which
Oh,
is
right
behind
here.
the school,
Yeah,
right?
it's not really a field, it's playground, play area, because it's a trapezoidal
So
shape.
due to the fact that the septic system is going to be there, we could never level that with the other grades of the fields all around it?
Yes, you couldn't bury it. You
Could
couldn't
never
bring it
bury it.
up 8 feet. No, there's a certain limit, 4 or 5 feet of fill, I think, on top of these things there. But like I said, it's a trapezoidal area, and it's in the floodplain too. Not in the flood, it's very close to it, the edge of the buffer and all. And I don't know that you'd ever mess with that. Anyways, it's already terraced below this field.
How long will it take them to do the septic?
We think they could do that in the summer,
I
July and
mean, is
August.
it
I don't know.
2
literally.
months, 2 weeks?
No, probably 2 months.
Probably
Yeah, it's,
2 months.
yeah, month and a half, yeah,
Probably
somewhere in
2
that
months,
range,
maybe
yeah,
longer, but
yeah.
still
Because remember, they have to connect the school too, so they have to put a line in
That's-
from here to
Yeah.
there.
As soon as the school vacates for the summer, we'll get right in there and start running those lines out.
Yeah, if they were to do it the last
Yeah.
summer.
Exactly.
But if they do it in the middle of summer, they'll still, you would, the secret there is gonna be, as you know, having the product available. If you get everything ready to go on the summer of the 14, that summer, if you have everything all set there, the structures, everything's there, and you're ready to go, you can do it in
No
a month.
snow
You know what I
days.
mean? You can do it in a month.
And no snow days.
One other activity.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, but you'll
That's
fit it in there, yeah, they'll fit it in there. Yeah.
One other activity that we may want to think about allowing during the first phase, when all of the activity is basically in here. You know, the first thing they're going to do is come in and start clearing trees. And they're going to have big equipment to do that, expensive equipment. There's a little bit of clearing that needs to go on right next to the teacher's parking lot, right there. Mostly, and there's not too much
There's a little, yeah, there's a
otherwise.
little bit more, I think, in the, you know, a little up in the section there, but not much, a
Up
little
here,
bit more in there, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
One of the thoughts might be to, again, allow them to work in that area off hours. Obviously, they can't do it during school hours. It's right, literally adjacent to the teacher's parking lot. But maybe weekends, maybe there's a vacation day and Columbus Day, or,
Yeah.
well, I don't know, we're starting November 4th, Thanksgiving, the Friday, or,
Veterans Day.
Yeah.
you know, Veterans Day, when they have the big equipment here. So they don't have to remobilize just for a little bit of clearing, you know, the following year.
Yeah, we're not talking about ripping stumps out and making a mess, we're talking, if you
cutting
see the
the
way they
trees.
come in with a big shear, you've seen them, Peter. They come in with a big shear, grabs them, shears them right off, puts them on a truck, and off they go. So whatever they do that day, it'll be gone, basically, they'll be hauling it right off, you know? Yeah.
So that's something to think about. And again, it'd be in the project's interest if we could allow
Yeah,
it.
that'd be an economical move, because you won't have to remobilize, it'll be done, gone, and be done with it, you know?
And then one last question about scope, not about phasing. Anything else about phasing, you know, in general?
When are you gonna want an
You know,
answer?
Probably next meeting, we should be focusing in on these.
To
Get
just
them into
add to
documents.
that, to add to that agenda of fencing, it just dawned on me, so you've got children who I hope continue to be able to use the walkway coming up,
Up here?
yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on when the, construction traffic is there, and so that becomes part of safety.
Yeah, right now, there's no separation other than the curb.
I know, something I
there.
think we all wanna
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah. Again, we're gonna restrict, I think, traffic, you know, for the most part during arrival and departure times. If kids, you know, stay late after school and are walking home, there may be a little bit of issue there at 3:30, 4 o'clock or something, but.
But we'll put a whole bunch of
We do
speed
wanna
bumps
talk
there.
about
Will the contract cover, damages to that driveway?
Well, we own rebuilding this driveway now.
We're gonna rebuild it all.
Anyways, Tilly, because
You're
we're
gonna
putting
do
in
the
new
whole thing
utilities.
all over again?
We are. Because we're putting in new utilities, we're redoing
It's gonna be dug
curbs.
up.
Changing configuration,
By
you
the
got
time we got
utilities,
all
you
said
got a new
and done,
gas
it
main,
made
there's nothing
sense
left.
to redo it all at the end
Yeah.
of the project, you
Yeah.
know, so. But there is, right now, there's, you know, there's a sort of makeshift sign down here at Elm Street, it says Pembroke School. And then there's another sign up here, once you know, get in that, I forget, I think it's the kind you can add letters to that
Yep.
says what events are going on. I guess that's okay for parents who come every day and drop their kids off, they can see, but obviously for the public driving by on Elm Street, they don't see that sign. And we just had a question if, you know, right now, we don't have anything in this scope for signage, new signage on the project, and we're not touching this existing one either. So, something to think about.
You mean a nice blinking sign?
No, the planning board wouldn't allow
No,
that.
that's
You
not-
can't have flashing signs.
Unless you ask them for a waiver.
That's right.
Is that reasonable?
And they're
So-
reasonable.
Don't point the sign
No,
on
that
any
you're-
house.
now you- now
Something
you're,
to
now
think
you're,
about.
here's another thought that, needs to be addressed. The, cross-country course is right through the
Yes,
section.
yeah, we
and
talked about that.
So.
Reconnecting it
It
in
will
the end.
probably be able to do it this coming fall, but the following fall, they probably won't be able to use that course.
No,
No.
Probably not.
You're
Probably
gonna
not.
have to figure before the fall start.
unless you can,
Fall sports start.
unless you can reconfigure it
Well,
maybe,
I'm
you
just
know.
saying that the school needs to either have all the way meets,
Yeah.
or they need to find a new course.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lower trail still down here, off the property.
Everybody goes around.
And if they just
Reconfigure it,
reconfigure it, you could
Yeah.
come down and go back, I don't know exactly how they run it, but
Topsfield.
without going through the construction zone. But we do intend to sort of weave together in the end, the trails back through the site.
But as far as the ball fields, when we have this meeting, the 26th of March,
It's a firm date,
should
right?
tell them
I gotta cancel
when
on
they're
that.
gonna have a field and when they're not.
It won't be until.
Right now, again, we're not touching these fields at all.
You know.
We're not
Okay.
interrupting the use of that at all.
Uh-huh.
You know, in any construction traffic, won't interrupt with the parking
Right.
either. The main purpose for us with this meeting with the GAA is to talk about these fields. As
Right.
to,
Irrigation.
and, you know, perhaps what else happens there, but, you know, what size, we talked about, should this be Pony League or Little League, or what size baseball field, and they may have some other thoughts that relate to these new fields. We gotta be careful, again, you know, the project has a certain budget, and they start asking for things to be funded under this project, we gotta put the brakes on, but we want their input on design of those fields.
They might come in with some funding too, to help out.
Exactly, exactly.
All right. I think that's,
Oh, and Rob had one question last time about the road widths, the 14-foot.
Yeah.
That was on my list to ask.
I don't have a full answer for you, Rob, but, you know, right now, because we're doing low-impact development, we're trying to shave things down wherever we can. As we said, this road that comes in, once you get past the teacher's parking lot here, becomes one-way road as the car loop drop-off, and it narrows down to 14 feet. And likewise, exiting the site right here, this bus loop, which again, mainly is primarily buses, narrows down once you get past the drop-off zone from here to here, narrows down to, and it's really just a stretch about this long, that's 14 feet wide. Rob asked about widening it back. I don't have the full cost to go to 20 feet, but what our engineers recommended was actually, if the issue is just sort of emergency, you know, getting by, that they'd recommend a shoulder on the inside corner where we don't have a curb now anyways, putting an extra 2 feet of gravel in there, compacted and, you know, drivable, so that it does two things. I mean, it keeps the roadway width narrow and the pervious pavement down, lets you know that it's one way on the normal course of things, but if there should be an emergency, you could pass to the inside and get by.
And
that would be, you know, sort of minimal cost upgrade.
Will we have an opportunity to talk about that more?
Yes.
Before these CDs happen?
We will.
Because I'm thinking of maintenance and ease of maintenance down the road of that and whatever, so that's still a discussion.
So you're thinking about getting rid of the islands?
right, exactly, he has you there. Okay,
And then, Michelle, and there's just one thing on the next meeting schedule we were gonna talk about.
Yes.
Right, trying to find a meeting in April.
April 9th
Ninth.
or 10th, we were
It's gonna
gonna,
be
Yes.
the 9th or 10th, so
Yeah.
I, after my conversation with you, I had the 9th, and then Courtney came back with the 10th and the 11th, so it's probably gonna be either the 9th or the 10th. So I
Okay.
just have to see.
The 9th is good, I think, that's a Tuesday, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We're
think.
gonna-
I thought
we
there
have
was
to
some
add a
reason we
meeting.
thought we couldn't do
I know,
Tuesday.
What
I
meeting is that
know.
now?
I think there
April
was a
9th, we
reason,
need to add a
and,
meeting.
Like, I just looked at that
Was
later
it
this
some
afternoon.
event at the school?
That was the week before.
Oh.
This is like the second and third round of
Okay,
dates that we've
well,
been
that
trying
might have
to
been,
hit.
April 2nd might have been the conflict.
April 2nd was the conflict, so it's either gonna be the 9th or 10th, then I'll figure that out this
Okay.
week. and
I
let
guess
you
I kinda
know.
lost track. That April 8th meeting would be, is there an agenda for
There
that meeting?
was
or just
no April
9th.
8th meeting.
Night, is that gonna
It's either
be
gonna be the 9th or
just
the
a general
10th.
meeting?
Yeah,
basically?
building
Just
committee
a
meeting.
general building committee meeting, no set specific item, just, okay, general update.
And then
Okay.
the June 11th meeting, we were thinking was that the one, might want to shift to 18th. Because that would, is that right?
Yeah, that was the one they wanted to look at in
Yes.
changing that date.
Yes.
I just wanted to check and see, I don't even know when our last day of school is now with, do you know, Eric?
The 25th.
Oh,
the 25th.
the 25th?
I mean, there's no reason for them to have summer, they should just go right into school.
You got the superintendent sitting there. Should keep him in school all year,
So
right,
we have,
Carol?
so we have.
I heard she calls the highway supervisor for advice on when to cancel.
Peter's on record saying no summer for the kids.
Yeah, if we did the 18th, it works out to be 3 weeks, you know, separation from May,
Okay, so right now we're
June,
looking to
July.
cancel the 11th and change it to the 18th.
Yes, and that meshes
check
well
into that.
with our cost estimate that's gonna be
And
ready
we'll
at that
confirm
time.
that, though. Don't put it in pen.
Yeah,
Don't put it in pen.
yeah, I gotta confirm the next meeting for April. So it'll be somewhere in the second week of April. We're looking at the 9th or the 10th.
Is that April vacation? Oh, no, that's
No.
June, never mind. Okay.
That's the week before.
All right. Rob, did you have something
Yeah,
else?
and I don't need any, I'm not looking for any discussion or answers, but I guess I just wanted to put it out there since it's 9:30 or whatever, but, Can we just make sure that we get a letter of copies of the letters, the attorneys?
That's up to Mike.
You have to.
Well,
The planning board said they would.
yeah, well, I'm just making sure. Yeah, okay, thanks. And at, let's see, the curbing road, we've talked about that, the queuing,
All right, I don't think there's anything else that we need to, anyone else have a?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Michelle would second.
So the next meeting is when?
It's the
It
9th or
may
10th.
be
I'll send out an email.
April 9.
Which is.
We hope it's April 9.
What's this 26th meeting? Do I get that?
Yeah.
That- You don't have to know. That's just if you're interested in talking about that
Do we
field.
have
That
the
one is
map,
at the.
the original one you had up today,
What?
electronically?
I'm sorry.
GA.
I'm gonna send it.
I don't know.
So for that 26, I'd like
He went
to,
tonight.
I have to get back to Mark Perry and tell him that, yes,